222 with special guest Reinforce here for the official rookie draft of 2022. It's episode 222 for the year 2022. It's a lot of twos here. It's also the second time we're doing this draft. It's definitely, we're definitely not doing this for the first time, right? I mean, there's a secret rookie draft out there somewhere from last week. They got lost to the ether. But we'll just pretend that was practice. We'll just pretend that was our trial run. Even though I was very proud of my draft personally, I thought that was a very good time that we had. But it'll be round 2. We're doing it again, guys. We're running it back. Rookie draft, the second time around that people will actually see now. How you guys doing?
Yeah.
Too bad. Too shabby.
That was my bad last week. That was the blue screen of death. In pretty much the last 5 minutes of the of the recording, probably, right? Like we were all done.
So close.
Oh my god, this one hurt. You know what also hurt? My fist on my table. That also hurt a lot.
Yeah.
Were you that angry?
I was very angry. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That was like a 2.5 hour recording. No, and we just chopped it up out in the nether. Yeah. I'm gonna be real, guys. We're live with this recording, but I can't find the video where I see your faces. So I'll just say it live on the recording. I'm lost.
You're lost. It's right here, dude.
You can hear us smiling through the video. Yes.
Okay. Yes, thank you.
Right.
Thank you. Okay. Anyway, yeah, good to be on. I was on here last week, so it's not really the first time I'm on here for a while because I spoke to you guys recently. But yes, I think this is gonna be a really fun idea. This is because so this is gonna be weird, right? Because last week I essentially gave all my points away, so now I've already said all my opinions to you, but the listeners haven't heard them.
That's true.
So I have to remember all the opinions I said last week. But I think last week I said that this is something I really wanted to do because every year people don't believe that we know anything about rookies on Plat Chat, and specifically me. They're just like, oh, you guys don't watch contenders. You just like, all you care about is the Overwatch League. You don't know any of these fucking tier 2 talent. You're not a real Overwatch fan. And I was like, okay, well, let's go to Tactical Crouch because these guys know their shit, and let's make a rookie draft because I think this is going to be so much fun. And to prove that I have the knowledge, that I know who these guys are and what they do, and they actually deserve to get paid for my job. So this is just me trying to justify my position in the Overwatch scene somehow, so that people can't get back to me and talk shit. It's very selfish of me, but
good idea.
That's where I stand.
I mean, people could just go to your Twitter and just see you posting clips from contenders. That didn't come from nowhere. Those clips from somewhere.
Yeah, I paid someone off an intern or something, but
and you streamed you streamed a bit of yourself watching contenders as well. So I got to put the proof out there.
Once a month, I turn it on.
Hey.
We're
really about as often as the average person watching tier 2, so I can't blame you.
We're really not educating our audience very well because, it feels like content creators are inherently driven just to spite 3 Redditors and just who talk shit and therefore create sick content. So why would these guys ever stop if that produces some of the best content?
True.
That's
not. They'll find something. This is also so off topic, Yiska, but I really enjoy that there was some meta thread on the Reddit, and I was just like, it was like, oh, there's 5 people who are the bandits of the subreddit, and I was like, oh my god, this is drama. This is drama. But we don't have to get into that. But that was spicy. How to clean up the subreddit. That was funny. Anyway, rookies.
Yeah, we got a lot of them. I think the final count ended up being 44. There is one bit of good news from the re-recording, and that is that last week we didn't have Speedily.
True.
Now, he was heavily rumored to be potentially joining. I think it was a weird kind of way he got signed because almost nobody kept their mouth shut, or they did in really sneaky ways. All these different players were like, ooh, eyes emoji. Oh, you wouldn't know who it's going to be, and all this kind of stuff. And you see Atlanta Rain Twitter account is posting shit as well. It's just the need for speed. I'm like, come on, what's going on? It's just a little bit too obvious. It's just, this is the opposite of the NYXL, where they've literally signed a 6th player, and it's just a mystery ghost person that no one knows, not even Halo knows. But then you look at Speedily, and it's just no one can keep their mouths shut. It's just completely the opposite. So worst kept secret in the off season apparently is Speedily. And And we're not going to get into, well, if somebody picks Speedly, we can talk about it more. But the general gist is that the Overwatch League, I think we talked about this in the Atlanta Rain preview, but we'll do it again for any watchers that haven't seen that yet. If you want to know more about Speedly in detail, you can go back to last episode. But right now, they changed the cutoff date for the age limit. I mean, it's still 18, but the date shifted from what was like July to August 31st, something like that. Mm-hmm. Partially to account for the fact that we are starting the season later. And as a cause of that, Speedly, whose birthday I believe was August 26th, is just barely in. So he just became suddenly eligible out of nowhere. And I guess teams looked at him, and obviously a team that looked at him pretty hard is Atlanta, because he's got 2 teammates on that team from AT.
It reminded me of like Formula One. I don't know if you guys seen Drive to Survive, where like the teams try to get away with shit all the time. Like they change a little part, they introduce a new thing, and it's like, it goes the rules, and it's like unfair advantage, and like the teams, they like bicker back and forth about like what's right, what's wrong, and like even if it's right, or even if it's right and justified, they'll just still report it just to like fuck with the opponent. That's how I felt with this. It's just like Atlanta, just like, oh yeah, we need to move back this. We're starting 2 months later. We need to move back the coming to age kind of date. And then they
should make it August.
Change that, and then like, did the other teams know? Like, were they in on this? Did they have any info? Like, were Atlanta already talking to Speedly before it was changed? Like all this drama. We're never gonna find out about it. But
Johnny,
what if?
It reminds me.
What if Brad is like Christian Horner? You never know.
And then what? And it does remind me of like when Washington got Decay and they got him through a loophole and all this kind of stuff. It's very much like that. So I don't know if you've seen the movie Rush with it was the old school Formula One from back, and it was from the 70s. It's got Chris Hemsworth in it. He got a big signing. Very late though. I think Speedly can't play until literally week 3 of Summer Showdown, which is way in the distance. So good luck with that. Yeah. They also have 4 DPS now, which I'll be interested to see how they handle. Without further ado though, I think we're pretty much ready to get started. And as we head in, we'll sort of explain and go over what we did last time as well. So that'll be fun.
Yeah.
All right. Without further ado, guys, episode 222, the rookie draft of 2022, brought to you by Elocrab, Refined Bean, Bronze Babuha, Charek, Commissioner Picasso, Chris R34444, Cash 67, Larsson, Pork Chop, Sammy, Rick, Same, Volamel, Spoon Nuts, and Your Misery. So we talked about the fact that last week we had a rookie draft already done and dusted. Obviously, we didn't know it was going to be a trial run. Ended up being a trial run. We can actually bring up, if we're ready, what that looked like. So we can reveal our draft from last week, which we did for real. And we set a random order in terms of who would be picking when, and then Snake drafted as well. So, first person goes first, and then they go last, etc. We played by normal rules in terms of roster building: 2 DPS, 2 supports, 1 tank, just because that makes more sense and it's a bit more competitive and fun. And in a fantasy world as well, where you are building your fantasy roster, no language barriers, everyone gets along, no desk slamming inside the team, no punching drywall, and everyone's cool. They can all communicate and they all love each other, and we don't care about coaching staff or anything like that. And then finally, you probably looked at the title and you're like, official ImProper rookie draft. What does that mean? That means we're not going to use proper in this draft because it would be too damn easy. He'd be instantly anybody's number 1 pick. He would skew the draft probably a little bit too far. And we're going to save ourselves that and just say, and just all acknowledge that, yes, he's the best rookie coming on in. Yes, we will all pick him if we had the first pick.
And I guess to just clarify, like, I don't know exactly what like the result goal is here with like the draft, like how we evaluate them. But essentially, like, Proper is so good that like just picking him alone would instantly make your entire team so much better. Mm-hmm. So that's why it kind of doesn't make sense, because like it would make your team so much better. It's not that like, in any draft, in any sport, it'd be like, of course you pick the best player number 1. But like, since we're trying to make teams, having someone that's like 20% better than any other player. It kind of makes the team part unfair, I guess. So
definitely skews some of the picking orders. So gentleman's agreement, improper.
GA. Proper got GA'd.
Other games that tend to be a good thing, but this one not so much.
Yeah.
Not so much.
To kind of talk about last week as well, it'll get brought up in a second, I'm sure, but we had some really interesting rosters, some interesting picks. We can sort of go over those in some detail. I don't think we need to go over the full detail again. Unfortunately, like I think we all pretty much showed our hand at the end, and we all kind of explained our process, which
you remember
not
that
ideal
shit?
was probably not ideal for the strategy of this week, because like we got to the end and we realized the recording was busted, and we realized we're gonna have to do this again, and I'm like, oh shit, I just told everyone everything. Oh fuck. So that got a bit awkward, but here we go, we got it up now. So let's scroll down to the actual 4 teams. So this is the order that everybody got picked in from 1 to 20. But if you go down to the actual teams, Yiska, and then we can see how it actually landed in a way that's is more digestible.
Not sure how delayed your stream is, but
all right. Well, you talk about your team first, and you went for a Pritafin, Kaluj, OG, Petapan. So talk about your team a little bit in brief detail, and talk about why it was in this order and all that kind of stuff, if you like.
Yeah. So in my mind, I was first pick. I was thinking, okay, how are we going to evaluate this? And how is the perception, and how do I think about the rookies that aren't proper? And I think easily the most likely second candidate to compete for a Rookie of the Year is a Prita this year. Just like multiple times contenders MVP, incredible talent. Chengdu probably also not going to be a pushover this year again. And just in terms of how he fit in, I feel that was just like a first round pick. I'm sure someone else would have picked him by the time I got 8th, right? I thought flex supports would be highly contested. I think in general my strategy really probably undervalued flex DPS and the importance of them, which I'm looking to improve on this time around. I think there's a shortage of good quality tanks, which we noticed. And I think main support, it's not amazing, but it's also not that big of a problem, it feels like. We'll see.
Joe, you were second order in the draft. How'd you go with yours? You went Alpha, you Stalker, Ryan, and Provide Super Rich.
Yeah, I was pretty pleased with how mine rounded out. I put a pretty big emphasis on DPS. I think that was reflected in how I think Overwatch 2 is going to play. Less so on supports. That's also kind of supported by, some of the things that we've heard, either from developers or from players speaking on the, on behalf of the things that are going on. And I quite like Reiner. We will see if I repick him. I don't know.
I think the Reiner pick is very interesting with Alfie and Stalker. That's just a dynamic DPS in frontline.
Mm-hmm.
I really like that. But then you picked Provide and Super Rich, and I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah, Provide.
Super Rich is fine. No, I'm exaggerating.
Yeah, I if I had to change my weights when it came to support, I definitely would have preferred a little bit more potent flex support. So maybe that gets moved up in the order. I don't know how it's gonna fit in, but it should be fun either way.
You were the only one with Hangzhou Spark picks. So as a fellow Hangzhou Spark enthusiast, I do appreciate your team.
I think we're bedmates in that way. I think there are a lot of good players on the Hangzhou Spark. I just am a little more gun shy on the team as a whole, I should say.
Okay, fair enough.
We'll forgive Johnny for not picking the Hangzhou members because he went last in the order. So I'll just say that Joe snapped them up first. I think you and Yiska were the only two that went for double ups from people from the same team as well. So 2 Shock players. 2 Spark players.
Yeah.
Johnny and I had unique rosters in terms of I had 5 players from 5 different teams. He did as well. Pretty widespread as well. I was the only one that went for a Washington player. Pretty late in the pick as well.
Yeah, woeful.
I decided to go for tank first, which now that I'm last pick, it feels like it probably won't happen again, Sag. So, whatever. I'll have to find my strength somewhere else. I'm last pick this time, which is going to be interesting. I had probably a little bit more of a focus outside of DPS because I knew that, DPS was kind of flying by, and I was like, well, I'll let everyone else get DPS and I'll strengthen my team elsewhere. Which, depending on how the order goes again, I might just have to do again, depending on how everyone else's strategy goes. And landed a pretty balanced roster, one of each role. Everybody I've covered all my bases. Don't think I have any particular weaknesses. I had a 6 strategy for keeping Kilo for last as well, because I knew no one else needed him. So I just had this guy on lock. I was like, I can literally save this guy for last and still get him, which is great.
I think that was like the biggest eye opener, was like seeing how many like rookie hit scans there were and being like, yeah, I guess we don't have to draft them very early because there's actually a lot of them that are actually really good.
And speaking of them, I mean, Johnny got one of the best ones straight up. So you got MN3, which you might have been surprised by. You're like, oh, MN3's been left open. What is this?
Yeah, I think I said this during the last recording as well. I just didn't. Before the episode, I didn't differentiate between flex DPS and hit scan DPS. And then, as we found out, like there's better hit scan DPS coming into the league this year than there are flex DPS. And so I was just like, oh, I'll pick MN3. You know, like the best hit scan player probably coming in, or well, apart from Aprita, coming into the league. And then AVRL picks Kilo with 19, and Merit is not even on the board. And I'm like, oh. Maybe committing to hit scan DPS first might have been a bit of a mistake here. So it's an interesting draft. There's some nice intricacies to it.
So now it's going to be a hyper competitive draft now, because now we all know what happened. One of the fun things that happened was 5 shock plays. I think shock had the highest was it 5? 4. 4 shock plays. 4 out of their current 5 rookies. So
Just
who didn't
Sam.
make it?
Sam didn't.
No, Sam isn't.
No, he
Oh,
did.
Sam did.
Oh, really?
Proper's the only one that didn't make it because he's
Yeah,
banned.
of course.
Yeah,
of
Proper
course.
is banned.
No, that makes sense. True. Yeah.
So we literally got all the shock rookies outside of the one that was banned. If he was available, he probably would have been picked.
Yes.
So, that's crazy. So shock had the highest representation in this entire draft. I don't know. Maybe they just won the offseason. I mean, they have the most rookies of any team by sheer number to start with, but their rookie quality is so high as well. So, man, good job to the team. Well done.
I said that. I said this last week. I mean, part of me feels like we're fucking crazy for just rating these rookies so high. Coming off the year of the London Spitfire promoting British Hurricane and having a woeful year, just awful year. And say what you want about finally this year we have some teenagers coming of age and they can finally join the league. They've been waiting for a long time. Meanwhile, London Spitfire last year, it was Kellex, Reaper, they'd already been in the league and didn't do great. Hardy didn't have the best of seasons. So you can say that those were veterans that dominated in contenders, maybe because of their experience, because they were a bit knowledgeable. They didn't have Danny D in Overwatch League. Huge mistake. You gotta sign the Swedes. The more Swedes you are, the better. Except for Volamel. But this year, everyone's just so in on the rookies. They're just we love the rookies, and I get it. I've watched the VODs. I've seen what they can do. I've seen the damage they can do, the insane mechanics they have. This is the best rookie year we've had since the Overwatch League started in terms of talent coming in holistically. This many good players. But part of me is just what are we doing here? How are we rating all these rookies so highly coming off a year where rookies weren't really that great, except for Pelican, I suppose? I mean, I'm just being a bit cautious. I'm we did an Atlanta Rain preview on Plat Chat, and people are going, loving the backline of OG and Ultraviolet and all this. But maybe we should just calm it down a little bit, we should relax for just a second, because the rookie hype this year, it's out of control. It's crazy.
Are the fans quite down on rookies for this year, or are they big
No,
as well?
they're all in. I think everyone's all in. I don't think I've seen a single person being oh, I don't really rate Aprida. I don't really rate,
Yeah.
Finn, the Shock. Shock might be a
This is,
mid-table team. No, everyone's like, oh, Shock's gonna be great. They're gonna be like top 4 NA. I'm like,
Well,
what?
like straight up 1/3 of the players this year are rookies. 1/3.
Yeah.
The whole league is
it's
rookies.
nuts.
You guys brought this up on recent Plat Chat, but it's like somehow, despite tier 2 being not the best, like it's not super well supported. I mean, 2 regions are just not even fucking there. Like there's no Asia Pacific outside of Australia, Korea, China. So all those Southeast Asian countries just don't exist. This is part of the reason why Patapan couldn't even play Overwatch and he went to Valorant, because it's just, what do you fucking play? Your region just got demolished. South America don't exist. And the money in contenders pretty debatable in terms of how good it is. It is what it is. I know budget's always an issue. But despite all of that, we produced 44 good rookies coming to the off season this year. It's like, what? Where did we get 44 good rookies from? This is crazy.
What is this dumb fucking saying? I see on the internet all the time. It's so dumb. It's like hard times makes hard men or something like that. Contenders is just like, oh, we have no money, we have no support whatsoever, and it just breeds like the most Chad alpha contenders players coming into the Overwatch League this year. Just like, oh, it's finally our time to wreak havoc on these fucking owl players who've had financial support their careers. And I'm just messing around.
Maybe we are just breeding the hardest motherfuckers out there. Yeah. Because if you're willing to play in tier 2 right now, you must be a hard motherfucker. I'll give props to that. Like
if you win,
you could be playing.
If you win current tennis Korea, maybe you get an extra pack of ramen. Like you're now allowed to survive for another week. I don't know. The spicy thing about this is also basically we can bullshit all we want. That's my strategy actually this offseason. If you haven't noticed, Johnny, I'm just going to like say the most outrageous shit, and when it doesn't come true, I just like Overwatch 2, man, couldn't have predicted that. Oh my god, it changed everything. That's the beauty.
I love it.
That's why we can hype rookies. Now, I will say, I probably would expect rookies, generally speaking, to be more adaptable to a new environment than, calcified Overwatch League.
Their brain is not fully developed.
Yeah,
it's still growing.
I'm only reasoning with neuroplasticity here.
I mean, I don't think you're like too even when it comes to like game terms, like I don't think you're too far off when you look at like the demand of main tank increasing and like obviously that role being filed down. I think there's some merit to that. I think there's merit to DPS becoming more and more demanding over the years. I think supports could face some interesting growth this year with like I said, things being a little bit more harder for them. So I don't think you're wrong in that way, just from a gameplay perspective.
Joe, you know what's crazy? Like we literally killed a role and therefore like in theory like doubled up the quality talent for a single position, and it still feels like we don't have enough skilled tanks in this league. Like there's such an atrophy of like quality tanks. It feels like that was always true in Overwatch League. There were never more than like 3 elite people around on the main tank role, for instance, right?
So many of them retired. Choi, Cooper, Mano. I can't remember anymore, but I'm sure there are more than that.
They're definitely right, yeah.
I named 3.
Those were the 3 good tanks.
I just named 3.
I mean, it's that in like the
Fisher
we don't know what
retired.
the role does.
Gesture's gone. Come on, guys.
I mean, you're reaching for
Bring
Fisher
Fisher
and
back.
Gesture 2022.
Bring Fisher back. I think the Shark should have targeted Fisher personally. I think they should have gotten him back.
Return.
So yeah, I mean, also, I'm not gonna lie. I think British Hurricane did underperform, but it is EU, guys. No, I don't want to be too mean. I don't know. We don't have as many. Hey?
I'm just going to say Ping.
Oh yeah, they probably got owned by Ping as well. We'll see if the new EU rookies hold up. I think the NA had another super team, which is great. And I think there's also a lot of underage people, because last year I knew people like Proper were good, just too young. We knew Speedly was good. We knew a bunch of the AT guys were good, just too young. So is what it is. It's crazy that we say, and this is the last thing I'll say about this topic before we get into stuff. It's crazy that we say we generally agree upon that every single year is more competitive than the last, And yet, this is probably one of the years with the most rookies, not counting the first year where everyone is technically a rookie. This is probably the year where we have the most rookies, and still we probably say this should be a more competitive year than last, which is us basically just saying the rookies coming in are just better than the old guard leaving, for one reason or another. Outside of maybe a few select examples of goats like Super leaving, but
agreed.
So
the one beautiful thing about Overwatch, we get a big talent churn. There's always like a sizable and it's not like they're bad, they're untested. Like most of the time, these are some pretty dominant players coming up from the highest tier of the amateur division and slotting in really nicely.
It does say though, hopefully if we do get some more tier 2 support from the Blizzard side, that we can do an even better job of shooting it out, because
100%.
As much as I like all these hard mofos coming in, it'd be nice to it'd be nice to, if we support a bit more, people would have more of a reason to stay in Overwatch and try and compete, rather than be like, what's going on with Valorant? What's happening with Fortnite, and just looking over the fence all the time.
And I know you wanted to move on, but just follow on that point, like Overwatch 2 as well. Like most likely in like 2 to 3 years, if we're still playing 5v5, the scene is going to, pump out tanks that actually can play both off tanks and main tank at a really good level. Like, if this is the parameters of the game, if this is how it's made, inevitably we're going to get even more tank players that can play both roles at a very high level. So I'm gonna love when that happens, when we finally move on from like the off tank main tank thing we kicked off in Overwatch 1, and in Overwatch 2 eventually get all these tank players who are just like amazing at all kinds of tanks.
That's got to be like a complete, like if you think about who we think of as like some of the GOAT candidates for tank, right? Like Super and Smurf. These motherfuckers had to split the main tank role between each other. Now we're asking them to also pick the off tank role up. Like that's got to be some mutated, some mutated, absolute like cracked 180 IQ kid that's just gotta I don't know, like. I think, like, legitimately, someone with a talent level exceeding Propers would have to come around in order to satisfy, like, all the things that main tank will be, or a tank will be required to cover, right?
Yeah.
It'll be a flex DPS player. I don't know if you guys saw that recent Leave highlight package, and at the end it included Winston. Like, Jesus Christ, this guy's like just playing Winston and GM.
I lean on Guangzhou. Here we go.
And but then you forget that Echo players have to legitimately practice tanks, because you have to copy tanks when you play Echo. And it's just like, just casually your flex DPS role includes all the DPS heroes and then just some tanks as well. Just interestingly enough. All right. So pretty high praise pretty high I think margin now to reach for a lot of new tanks coming on in. We'll have to see how it goes. Not a lot of tanks coming in. Still the most underrepresented role in the rookie pool. We got 44 rookies, but only something like, is it 7 tanks? 7 tanks. 2 of them are on the same team. Generous mix of, I think, even mix of both off tank and main tank. If I'm not mistaken on that. Yeah, it's like 3 off tank, 4 main tank. See how they handle that one. And why don't we reveal the order? So let's go and look at this week's version 2 sheet of who's going to be picking when. And the new order, I'll just say it while you're doing that, is going to be... Joe, you wrote this down. Where did you write it down?
It's going to be Reinforce, Yiska, myself, and then AVRL. And then in the snake order, AVRL goes again, then I go, then Yiska, then Reinforce, vice versa.
So Johnny goes, who's second again? Yiska?
Me, yeah.
Yep.
So we completely changed everything. So Johnny went from last to first. I've gone from third to fourth. And everyone else has just kind of moved one position roughly.
Pretty much,
Yiska went from
first to second.
First to third. First to second. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So we all literally just shifted down one.
Mm-hmm.
And Johnny shifted.
Kind of funny.
We all literally just take the seat to your right, kids. Everyone just moved down one. All right. Anything else? Shall we get started? Are we ready just to get on with it?
I think we're ready to draft.
And everyone feel free to just talk a little bit about your pick, and everyone else can chime in on like how good they think X player is going to be in the league this year. I'm sure when you look at 44 rookies, you can pick the top 20 of them. We'll all have pretty nice things to say. So
yeah,
go on, son. Johnny, number 1.
All
You
right.
get the first draft pick.
I'm going to make it spicy. Off the bat, I'm going to make it spicy. I'm so ready for this. We changed up the draft because we learned our lessons from last week. I learned what the mistakes I did. So I'm just going to throw a curveball. Just going to throw a curveball, make it interesting off the bat, throw everyone's, strategy, to the winds. Or maybe not. Maybe this is kind of expected. I don't know. For my first pick in the 2022 Tactical Crouch Rookie Draft, as my number 1 selection, I'm picking Speedily for the number 1 slot.
Shit!
Okay.
Shit!
In terms of mechanical skill, makes sense. He doesn't turn of age until August 26th. He'll only be able to play like Countdown Cup and playoffs if they make it. So maybe you could make the argument, well, that doesn't make sense because he's not going to win Rookie of the Year, isn't going to play enough matches. But flex DPS are in demand, and I'm going with Speedily because he's so much better than some of the guys who are like 3, 4, 5, which is not their fault. Speedily is just that good.
True.
It's fantasy. We can just pretend he starts day 1.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pretend that he's gonna be great.
And in fantasy rules, he can speak all languages. He gets along with all players, and he gets to play the whole season and by fantasy rules. So it's all good.
He was really good in scrims all year.
Yeah.
No, scrim backs
scrims
are very important, and I will defend this to my grave.
Hey, in the world of drafting,
New York last year, huh?
Drafting, yeah. And we got Atlanta. I had Atlanta Scrim Bucks on lock, and they paid out big time for me. So I'm happy with that.
That was a curveball.
Peak early.
Yeah,
the Speedily pick.
Yeah, because I thought like we basically like the first 2 picks were on lock, and now I had to take the one you didn't pick.
Yep.
So now I have to make an actual decision. I was also just going to like immediately scream my pick when you said the other. So now I'm like,
you were not gonna pick Speedily, were you?
No, but I am going to pick Kellen.
Oh, Kellen for number 2. Oh, that is interesting.
I thought you learned out of having to pick faults. Apparently not.
Hey, I don't really mind picking faults that much.
No,
put some respect
I don't think
to my
it's that
guy.
bad.
He's a good Sigma player.
Yeah, that's 1 tank.
I can't speak for other heroes, but good Sigma, sometimes Sigma.
Yeah, I think there's only one other choice I would make here. I'm not going to say it. It's not going to pass until my next pick, but whatever. Just strategically, but Kellen is just like very clearly the best tank player in that pool. I think tank players are like in high demand and also just not that many. I think like the step down that you have to go to from Kellen to the next guy is already pretty big. But from like for me in 7th place, bro, like if you guys keep picking tanks, then I'm sitting on faults or like honestly, last time I already wasn't that satisfied with my Kalush pick, so I had to lock down Kellen.
I get it, bro. You're just repeating the script I used last week when I picked Kellen. That's fine. You're just like, what did Avril say about Kellen? Yeah. That's all right. I get it.
Okay.
Understandable. I knew I wasn't getting him because one of you guys would. So
also,
get that out of the way. I already locked myself onto like a whole bunch of other picks. I'm like, who do I have to write off here? Like this guy, that guy, that guy. I'm last pick, so it is what it is. Go on, Joe.
All right. I think I'm gonna stick with a similar theory, similar parameters. So for the 2022 Tactical Crouch Rookie Draft, Volamel's Voluptuous Vixens are going to be drafting Alfie as our Flex DP.
You're so bad at this game, bro.
What? Are you serious?
Yeah.
At number 3.
I think he so looking at like how important flex DPS is. You need somebody who can play Tracer. You need somebody who can play that projectile. I think his Echo's been phenomenal. Johnny, I think you can attest to that. Yes. The kid's nuts. The kid is cracked out of his gourd. Like Speedily is like right up next to him. Like he was definitely on my short list, like battling 1A, 1B.
Gourd cracker.
Because he's off the table, I need somebody who can kind of like rotate to that Tracer if need be. I don't trust a lot of the hit scans that much, but that's also kind of my ignorance and a little bit bias. implicitly. I know Alfie can do both, and yeah, I think he's quite good.
Avril, you got to be
You guys are
pitching
gold
a tent.
cracker.
You got to be pitching a tent right about now, right? Like,
I mean, I love Joe's picks. Joe helped me out last time as well. Last week when we did this, Joe did me such a fucking solid. I'm like, yes.
I mean,
Just the specific order things were picked. And like, I needed Joe to do certain things for me, and he just did it. I was like, yes.
I mean, I guess we shouldn't be too surprised. He picked Alfie 2 second,
Yeah.
or Alfie number 2 last week, and now he picked Alfie number 3. Like, he's sticking to his guns.
I'm consistent.
he will always
if
pick
not
a,
anything.
he will always pick a bench player of the worst team in APAC. Like, you can trust Joe to do that.
Alfie won't be a bench player. He's not going to be a bench player.
He doesn't know.
Unless you think
He doesn't
Arctic
know.
is going to be playing
Yeah.
Alfie.
Please clip this.
Maybe, but I'm gonna screw things up a little bit
Okay.
by dipping into Joe's pool. Since he's been left open, I'm actually gonna go for Stalker.
Okay.
Now I know what everyone's thinking. He's like, oh, this guy's gonna be bench behind Prophet and Fitz. Guys, in my fantasy world, everybody we pick is a starter instantly. So it doesn't matter. My fantasy roster, everyone's a starter. Everyone speaks every single language. They're the perfect human beings. No one throws peripherals. We're all good. Things are great here. Stalker's going to be the best because he's now a starter.
The ignorance is
Right,
bliss.
so-
You're right, Avril.
It's great. Speedly gets to play the whole season, you know. If Speedly gets to play the whole season, then Stalker's going to be my number one. Boom.
Yeah.
So get that out of the
that's
way.
fair.
I like it.
That's fair.
Steal Stalker away from Joe. And, you know, we'll see if Joe picks another flex DPS for a second DPS. That'd be funny. And if he does, that would probably screw over Yiska a little bit. So maybe you should just do that. That'd be pretty funny. And you do get to pick before Yiska. So that is also extra funny.
You can also
for
fuck
my
me
second,
over. Why don't you do
my
it?
second pick. Who, me?
Yeah, you could.
I'm better than that, Yiska. You saw my draft last week. You saw what I did last week.
Joe, getting Joe to do your dirty work. Come on.
Oh god. All right. Who do I want next? This is really interesting. How do I want to play this? Let me see. I'm not going to be picking again for a while.
True.
I think about what you guys want to get as well. So why don't I put myself in a slightly more comfortable position? And you know what? I'll play the Yiska card. I'll be the Kaluge guy this time. Bring him on. Bring him on.
All right.
I'll invite a bit of controversy. No, actually, in my world, there's no controversies. You know, it's fantasy. No players here ever touch social media. Social media doesn't exist actually in this fantasy world. So, no one says shit. Everyone's happy. We're all good. So, Stalker Kaluge is where I'm landing for my 1 and 2. And now we go back to Joe.
Interesting.
I do like it. But that definitely pinches me at tank. Therefore, for the second pick on Volamel's volatile Velociraptors, we will be taking Reiner as our leading main tank.
I'm fucking picking false again.
I will not be the one to put my money in the false bag as much as I think he's fine. This is a fantasy draft, and I'm not trying to lose. So, yeah.
Yiska's fist pumping right now because you didn't screw him over.
Yeah, no, I definitely, you know, not hedged my bets, but like teetered on like the definition of like flex and hit scan last week. So didn't want to double up again. I think Reiner is kind of not a different breed. I think that like is a little bit too positive. I think that like these main tanks coming in like a post wrecking ball world, I kind of said this last week, but to kind of like reiterate, I think they have a lot more mechanical skill than like just, you know, the main tank narrative in general. And I think I would trust him to do more of the heavy lifting when it comes to some of the flex tanks, if that becomes meta as well. So yeah, I think he's probably the next best bet. Plus I talked to some of the experts in NA and some of them actually had him over Kalush. So yeah, I like him quite a bit.
Yeah, I think Reiner's a really good pick. I'd probably rate Reiner over Kalush as well, I think.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
fair play.
Fuck you guys. Come on. Fuck you guys. Wow.
I mean, Kalush isn't
very
bad.
interesting. No. That's what I'm saying. I think Reiner is such an interesting player, though.
Yep.
Like even being like a DPS player before going tank. Like, how does that affect his, you know, play going into Overwatch 2? You know, off tanks, mechanics, stuff like that. Like, we really don't know. So it's going to be very interesting to see. I could even see him, like, but depending on how flexible he is, I'm just speculating, but like maybe even like replace Space on a couple of tanks that you'd usually expect Space to play those heroes.
Yeah.
Like, so
like imagine if like there's metas where like on Control, like you want like a certain tank on Village, or you want a certain tank on Sanctum. Like there's gonna be those situations where you need somebody that's a little bit more flexible, and if Space can't like answer the call, then I think Reiner has a ton of flexibility to pull upon. So
You guys are like underrating Space. What's going on here? I'm like, I just woke up in an alternate dimension.
I mean, he did get his Zarya replaced by Mirror for quite some time, so
that's true.
But Mirror is a great Zarya, by the way. Mirror's a fantastic Zarya. So
he's like a
indeed.
Zarya specialist kind of guy. I don't know. I'm just,
God damn it.
this is Roll Star Space we're talking about.
It's
I feel
true.
like that'd be such a great copy pasta we never got about how good Mirror Zarya is. And why
I think Mirror is going to be nuts. I think like people are sleeping on how good Mirror is going to be for fucking Florida this year. I think he's going to be some crazy flex.
I'll sleep.
I'll sleep.
I kind of like sleeping on players for that story. Like I like people being slept on and then like redeeming themselves.
Yeah,
like, I think that's a very that's a very compelling. Like they should have written like a Greek god about being slept on or something. And like the story about that. Similarly, like. Who's another one? I'm sleeping on Victoria. I'm willfully sleeping on Victoria just so I can see the Boston Uprising fans towards the end of the season just be like, we told you the entire time. And I'm like, I know because you were in my Twitter mentions every fucking day about Victoria. But here we are, and you've redeemed yourself with the Victoria. So, I'm looking forward to the Victoria redemption arc in Summer Showdown.
I sleep on all European players. So, we'll see if any of them show up. I'll be happy.
Literally, you're asleep when they play.
True.
Yeah, based on the time zone, I'm actually sleeping. You're correct. Yeah, I wouldn't be awake. So,
anyway, Yiska.
Yeah, you coming up with something?
So I sort of, because the next order is that Johnny picks twice, so I had to do some soul reading, which will really determine my strategy here. I also can't believe you let me pull this off, or like he hasn't been picked yet. But I think it makes sense for me to pick a Pritter.
I can believe it. I just want you to know.
Yeah, it's
a Pritter. I heard
it's a Pritter. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. APR 1. Get him. April 1st.
April 1st.
A Pritter's got an
I'm
April
actually
Fool's
loving
joke
this.
in his name. That's actually insane. I look at that.
He's loving this or no?
I'm loving this. This is so good.
Okay.
I mean, I would have picked Aprilia if you didn't, Yiska.
Right.
So, I think it's an amazing pick. So,
That's a talented player.
yeah, the best hit scan coming out of Contenders this year.
I agree.
I don't know enough about some of the bigger Korean ones, but I think
Could
he's
be up with
definitely
the
got to be up
mate,
there.
Yeah, he's got to be up there in a way. And I mean, if you aren't willing to commit to him being the best hit scan, because he's got great competition, whether it's like MN3 or Kilo and stuff like that. He's got great competition, but he's in an incredible environment to succeed this year, Aprita. And if you want someone to succeed, putting them in a good environment can be very beneficial. So
you got Leave as your teammate. I mean, shit feels pretty good.
Yeah,
You're having a good time when you got Leave as your teammate.
Yeah, don't int like Jinmu. That's all you have to do. Pretty much.
True. Yeah, true.
But I'm very happy about that because that puts me in a glorious position where I get to pick my two favorite supports and have that locked down for my team. So, with my 8th pick
He's building
in the Tactical Crouch Rookie Draft podcast, I'm going to pick Churong as my main support for my team. I think
as much.
we got great main supports coming into the league. Churong, Chio, OG, Super Rich, even Admiral. I think can hold his own for the London Spitfire. But Churong, I think he's a step above the tier S kind of players like Chio. I guess OG is like a tier A, maybe almost on their level. But Churong, I think he's one step above Chio even. Very much looking forward to see him on Toronto Defiant. So that's going to be my main support pick. And for my 9th pick on the flex support role. Now this is interesting because I think I have 3 different options here. One of which turns of age later in the season, who I'm not going to pick, to AVRL's delight. He's going to be pleased about that one.
I don't pick for a long time. It's just
It's really hard.
He's certain.
The flex support that actually I'm the most excited to watch this season, and because he doesn't share his role with a former MVP candidate, I'm going to pick Ultraviolet. I'm really excited to see Ultraviolet this year. I think he has amazing playmaking ability.
True.
I mentioned this elsewhere, but I think Atlanta Reign fans going into the season, they're like, "Oh, we lost Iris." We lost a lot of playmaking with Iris because he's able to like turn some fights around with his Baptiste mechanics and contribute in ways that you really want your flex support to do. I think Ultraviolet can slot right in and provide that for this Atlanta Reign team. I think he has some amazing game sense. His mechanics, like it seems when I watch him play Ana, that like he hits the perfect bionades, a really well-timed sleep. He uses his abilities at the right time. And when you play a hero like Ana, and you have 2 big cooldowns that can like change team fights, it's really important that you use those very carefully and at the right time. And it feels like Ultraviolet does that a lot of the time. He just like nails his ability usage to go with his mechanical skills. So I'm going with Ultraviolet. I think he's a really exciting prospect this year, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing him play. So the Chorong Ultraviolet backline.
I like it. To kind of go to bat for you with Ultraviolet for a second, for people who like aren't like aware, like this kid's name has been like in talks of like getting promoted once he became of age, since like he was playing on Square One. Like talking to people in NA, it's always Ultraviolet. Oh, like who's coming in at flex? Like there are some names, but like always leading the pack, it always seemed to be UV. So like this is somebody who's been like eyed for a long time. Somebody who Brad like admittedly had to fight for, and like you're not going to be disappointed. Like you said, losing Iris, not that bad when you have UV coming in. So
yeah,
agreed.
Now again, like you didn't get picked. Another person on the list of players that couldn't have been picked last year because of age. So like I said, it's just crazy how a lot of just rookie players suddenly turn 18 for this season. But here we are.
I really require you to not fuck this up, Joe. You gotta pick some good shit after me. Otherwise, like AVRL runs away with this.
We won't.
I like my picks, thank you.
Now you're out. You just you lost already. You just gotta deal less damage. I think I have to pick Finn here.
Okay.
I think it's the best flex support candidate in the pool. I agree that Ultraviolet, just like on a probability basis, probably he has to play every game. That's not 100% given for Finn, even though I think there's a very good chance that he will. It also very much depends. Like if we stop recording this episode and suddenly Moth is signed, I'm feeling less confident about this. But yeah, I think like from the contender's talent, he's very clearly like the best flex support coming in this season. I don't hate Vigilante. I think there, in my mind, there's just like he comes of age too late. I don't know. Like by the metrics we outlined, I'm not sure if one should really value that too much. But yeah, I feel better about Finn.
Fair enough.
Okay, don't fuck me, boy.
I mean, I don't know. I'm at this point that I'm not ever sure like what you like are asking or what you want me to do.
Do you not think ahead of what AVRL will now
I think in the moment, and I'm incredibly impulsive. I support AVRL.
This is so obvious.
Support me.
Please
help me out.
I'm definitely going to support you. I'm a fan of alliteration. Therefore, for Volamel's Vigilantes, I'm going to go with Vigilante.
Oh yes, there we go.
I was ready to rage.
I liked Provide last draft, but I think it's definitely an area we can improve. Yes, Vigilante comes late. 100%. But when you look at his contenders play, it's tough to argue with how talented he is. If you want to look at it as an investment for the future, you can look at it that way. I'm of the opinion, with AVRL that in fantasy land, none of this matters, and he just gets to play anyways. So he will be spearheading my backline for sure.
Can't argue against that. As a last pick, Andy, last pick, Larry here. I just have to eat shit, I guess. Whatever. You have Yiska and Joe colluding against me as well.
Sometimes you just get painted in a corner, man.
Oh,
I don't mean it.
The good thing is, he had no thought about this. It's just like a thought that bubbled up in him. It's not, bad intentions. He didn't think about it. He just, his brain just rolled the, D20 and it spit out Vigilante.
I think you weighted the die a little bit, though. I think you might have cheated a little bit there. You might have just, nudge the die over slightly to what the numbers that you
do you think he picks provide again?
I don't know. Maybe he just picks Becky out of nowhere. I don't know. That's what I'm hoping. Let's go, Becky. Let's go, baby. I'm not picking Becky, so that wasn't an official pick from me. Well, since you guys are left and open, I might as well go MN3. Oh, booyah! Let's go. Just lock him in, baby. Lock him in MN3.
Yeah.
It's just a super open. He was a first round pick last week.
Yep.
Now he's survived till the third round. I'm like, all right, yes, he's mine. So everyone be overlooking the hit. We were hard shifted. Only Yiska got a hit scan. So everyone hard overlooked hit scan this time. And so because all the hit scans are open, I'm like, well, there's still some hit scans that are much better than others, guys. So I'm still going to get him at 3 first. So I'm going to go. And the next player I'm going to go for that I think I really need is I'm going to go for Chio.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good pick.
From the Dallas Fuel.
Really excited to see Chio this year.
Yeah, he's good. He's very good.
And in a great environment.
Graduate, under rush, plays next to fielder. Oh, what more could you want, really? Anyone in the rush formula, especially if you're a rookie, that's quite exciting. Still isn't gonna make me pick Gurio anytime, but it's still I got hopes. I got hopes. But no, Chio is right there. I think he's a guy that's along with Chorong, an exciting support coming through from Contender's career, and especially all the guys coming through from the O2 Blast system are super exciting. So yeah, he's open. I'll take him. MN3 I'd said for a long time as well. That was probably my second favorite rookie, or who I think is the second best rookie after Proper coming in. Even though there's a bit of a gap, there's a gap between Proper and everyone. So I'm like, I think I've got my number one. I basically got my number one pick for both hit scan and main support here. Obviously, if Chorong was available, I probably would go for Chorong, but I think Chio is solid anyway. So he's pretty happy with these 3 picks that I got so far on my team. 4 picks actually.
Yeah.
So I'm happy with that.
I also think in hit scan it's a Prita, it's MN3, and then that's the first tier, and then there's a step down after that in my mind.
That's fair. Yep.
And I'm not saying that's necessarily how it will play out, because there's certainly players still in hit scan that have a lot of potential, and honestly, a large amount of those, right? There's probably 5 or 6 names that have potential to hang. But yeah, I think
having seen both players, I think Aprita's got the better tracer. And he certainly played a lot more tracer. But MN3's actual snipers, as actual flick scan characters, are fucking crazy. Just out of this world kind of crazy. Bench Carpe kind of crazy. And then on top of that, probably has a better tracer than Carpe as well. I don't suspect MN3 will play too much tracer over Zest, but it is what it is. So I'll take him. Very excited about MN3. Let's see what Joe's excited about. Because now, instead of Joe fucking me, he can fuck you guys.
Yeah, true.
Go on, Joe.
Exactly.
Please fuck those guys.
So there's another position that's kind of getting a little pinched here, and I'm really not trying to pick anybody else from that pool. No offense to them. Not to say that there aren't other good players there, but for the what is this? The fourth pick? Yeah, fourth pick for the 2022 Tactical Crouch rookie draft. Volamel's I'm lacking in brain cells and descriptors, adjectives. That's the word. I'm gonna go with OG as my main support.
Yeah, you're not good in adjectives. We found that out last week.
Yeah. I stand by what I said.
The
Doing
waffle.
some justice by my main support here. UV and ultraviolet, UV and OG have been just dominant in the NA scene for a long time. I think that duo is definitely something you want to keep together. Apart, they're both individually talented, but word on the street is if you put them together, they're quite dominant. So as much as it can't go to reinforce, but we want to take it off the table.
What I want out of this is when it gets back to Joe again, I want his last pick to be another Hangzhou Spark member, just to complete the circle of life.
Somehow I don't think it's going to be that, but
maybe it'll happen.
Could be.
Maybe.
It could be.
That'll be really good. Okay, I mean, great pick. I would have been. Part of me really wanted to see Johnny take the OG Ultraviolet duo because that would have been pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
And also, because
Chorong is so good.
He's nuts.
But then also because Johnny would have 3 rain players, and he's like, "Oh fuck, I might as well get Venom next, right?" And he's got 4 rain players, and just like it's just rain +1 at that stage. But hopefully that was sufficient damage against Yiska. We'll see.
The thing is, like, I'm now in a position where my last 2 picks, you guys already have picked. All of them. So I still need a flex DPS. I still need main support. Every one of you has picked them. And I don't feel too bad.
You're just on autopilot then. You just autopilot.
Yes, I'm autopiloting. I think the main support's choice is interesting. I think.
We know you don't have too high hopes for APAC per your spring predictions last year. So,
I mean, okay, just to think out loud, I think like Vindime or Super Rich are probably the most likely choices here. With Fixa being an outside chance, but that's more like counting on Philly, and you will never catch me doing that. It's a hard one. It's certainly a hard one.
Don't you need a flex DPS?
I also need one, but I mean that's pretty locked.
I won't be picking one, so I guess.
Yeah. Everyone has picked one there. That there for me feels pretty obvious who I'm picking. I think I'm going Vindime for this one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Solid choice.
Mm-hmm.
Subscribing to the O2 Blast system. I like that.
Yeah.
Fun fact, he was on loan from Gen G the whole time, so Soul's just like, yoink.
Thank you.
Just how it is.
Oh boy, I need to drink some water before my 2 picks.
What do you need to pick? What are the roles?
He needs hit scan and tank.
Oh.
So hey,
Here's
everyone
the thing.
has to have one.
Here's the thing.
Everyone has to have one
Here's
weak
the thing.
position you got to go for.
The neurons in the brain, they have clicked. They have conjured up this unknown chemical that only exists in my brain in the Overwatch community. Okay? It's happened. It's like in an instant. It just clicks. It just snaps. And my entire perspective shifts. It's like introducing a new color, a new dimension to my living being.
A new copy
And I just feel like the fire from hell just rising through me, granting me hot takes. And here we are. And I'm considering with my last 2 picks to pick 2 players that weren't even drafted last week.
Oh,
That is just like and to me, I know that it is not right. It is not right of me to draft these 2 players, rating in terms of like skill, how they played in contenders. But there's just something in me. It's just like there's just like it's like a tumor in my body. It just grows, and I need to feed it. And so here I am, and I can't fight against it.
Okay.
So with my 16th pick, For tank, I'm going to draft someone
Ooh.
from the Florida Mayhem.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
I'm going to draft
I actually
someone
like
from
that.
coming in
False.
from Team CD instead of False.
Mhm.
I think this is going to be an interesting Florida Mayhem team, and I don't know how he's going to split time with Adam, but I like the talent coming into the league. If someone can find a few maps that he can like really pop off on, I think he's going to do like better relatively to False in that regard. While False might get more playtime, and who knows if they're going to bring in another tank to Vancouver. It certainly seems like it, just like rumor wise that they're trying to find someone. Not someone, but someone else. So I like someone. I like someone as a prospect to potentially like do good in his role, like someone who will people will be positively surprised about towards the end of the season, who contributed well and earned their slot. Almost like a Sado character, I suppose. Maybe, I don't know if that's right. And then I need a hit scan DPS, and there are 2 hit scan DPS on the table that makes so much sense to pick.
Mm-hmm.
They are Kilo and Merit. Both of whose circumstance I'm questioning a little bit.
Oh, they shared playtime too.
There are other great hitscan players like Victoria on Boston Uprising, for example. Who knows what Boston are going to do this year? That's just another thing. Like, I didn't pick Itzel because they already have Marvel and Punk on that team. Like, I don't want to commit to Itzel there. I don't even know how much playtime we get. Maybe we'll play like one hero for that team. I have no idea. Someone I believe will play the main tank for the Mayhem. I'm pretty certain about that. Talking about hitscan DPS though, Kilo. I don't know how much playtime Kilo is going to see on this team. Maybe they'll primarily play around Proper and Sam because Overwatch 2 is like a pretty fluid game, and maybe you'll play like tons of different flex heroes. Maybe maybe it'll be comfortable to have 2 flexible DPS players in that regard, or maybe it'll be like you need your hit scan player and you need like a really good hit scan star to be in there, and then maybe Kilo pops off. But he's a great prospect. People say that, Kilo is a bit inconsistent. Maybe I don't want to take on that inconsistency for my team. Maybe that's something. I want a consistent team. I already have a great flex DPS with Speedily. I have a great backline with Shoring and Ultraviolet. Maybe I don't want to take in an inconsistency onto my team that can ruin everything in that regard. You have Merit as well. I think Merit is like one of my favorite scan prospects this year. I think it's a really interesting environment as well. I mean, Dante and Pelican to share playtime with. But maybe Merit, they got Piggy as a solo tank for that team. They got one of their support is going to play main support. They got double flex support lineup. I mean, it's a pretty chaotic team. Maybe I don't want to take in the inconsistencies of that. Maybe I don't want to, risk picking someone that won't see a lot of playing time for the Houston Outlaws, even though he's pretty talented. So with my 17th pick,
oh my god,
I'm going to flip the table. I'm going to flip the table
oh my god,
upside down. I'm going to pick Gurio from the Dallas Fuel as my hit scan DPS player.
Okay.
Jesus Christ.
Hear me out. Not the biggest hit scan DPS prospect of the remaining pool. He's probably not as good as Kilo, probably not even as good as Merit. Okay? But great environment, okay? You're coming into a Dallas Fuel team that starved for a fucking hit scan player last year. They're playing Sparkle and Doha. Sparkle filled the tracer role, of course, amazingly. Doha, great flex DPS player, can play the Sombra and Echo and whatever you like. You can play all of it. But this year, I mean, Sparkle's probably competing a bit with Edison maybe on like the tracer role. Maybe Edison will pick up some hit scan. I don't know. I think Gurio can actually find himself sort of like a consistent role within this Dallas Fuel team. I think that Gurio, his reputation was probably, looked down upon a little bit because he was on that Team Diamond GC Busan roster that, they were like 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th in Korean contenders, something like that. I think when I watched their VODs, they put a lot of resources into their tanks. Silver Coin, and I can't remember the tank. He's like...
I can't remember either. I don't blame you.
Yeah. But when I watched that team, when I watched Team Diamond, I felt like they already gave up on the DPS matchup. They were like, well, we can't compete with Hisang, we can't compete with Proper, so we're not going to put resources into Becky because Becky's not that good. We're not going to put resources into Gurio. We're just going to try to make space with our Winston and Zarya and hope that Gurio finds like a couple of picks, which makes sense for a team of that level. But On the Dallas Fuel, you have Fearless, you have Hanbin, you have a backline of Chio and Fielder, okay? We're just going to nurture Gurio. We're just going to do everything we can to make this little flower, just pop out. Gurio is my pick to be the skewed of 2022. He's going to be an underrated pick. People will be like, who is this guy? You know, we don't really know anything about it. He's going to blossom. He's going to be a little seed that just blossoms into a flower throughout the season. And at the end of the season, when people look back on these lineups, they're going to be like, Reinforce. What an amazing god. Like, what a visionary. What a prophet to be able to pick up Gurio here. And here we are. I'm so happy with my team.
I think he is a potential skewed award winner in the making. It really depends on what Rush does with him. Just wait until you're like, oh man, it's hit scan time, baby. Gurio's going to get some play time. Maybe Edison's going to be there, and the Rush is like, nah, it's actually still going to be Dohan Sparkle. You just see Dohan out.
This ruined me.
Sparkle's coming out of the Widowmaker. It's like, there we go. That's how Rush wants to play this team.
That would have ruined me. I'm here for it. It's going to be fun.
Also, Venom was open, man. You could have had the Atlanta trio.
Oh, I could have had Venom.
Yeah, Brad is just sad about that. He's just fuck. But
Venom is also an interesting case, right? Can you really classify Venom as hit scan?
I don't know.
You can classify him as Tracer.
I just classify him as Tracer.
Yeah, Brad came out and was like, we really need to learn. He needs to learn like Sombra and some hit scan. Like,
now they have 4 DPS. Like at this point, you should just be like, nah, fuck it, just play Tracer. We covered everything else. It's fine. Like he got 4 DPS now.
Did I shock you, Yiska?
This shocked me, yeah.
Were you going to pick Gurio?
I didn't know you hated Edison this much. Like, I didn't... The Edison erasure here is incredible.
Fuck, that might be right. I just completely ignored him.
No more.
I mean, he has had to play behind some pretty big talents. So,
but yeah, no, this was I like the someone pick a lot. I think that's a big upgrade. That's probably the best choice in my mind of the people that were left. Let me confirm. Yeah, I think so. Gurio, I don't think it moves the needle by much. I think Merit isn't. I think generally speaking, of the ones that were left, Merit is the highest skilled. Bro, it will be very hard for him to get enough playtime this season. I think that's the problem that he's facing. Now,
who is
Merit?
Who's facing? Okay,
because like in my mind, I think Dante in that organization is probably always.
You know what's funny? All the fans think Dante's gonna be permabenched. That's what all the fans think.
No shot.
They do. Way. They think Dante's permabenched.
No.
They keep saying it.
If anything, he's permabenching.
That's crazy to me.
Okay.
That's crazy to me.
Yeah, like, why would Dante play? They have Pelican. He's going to start the full time. Why would Dante play? To be fair, it's a reasonable line of logic to come through, but I don't think you... For people that think that, I just don't think you understand the Houston Outlaws organization if you think that.
Yeah.
Wouldn't even, like, Pelican be the one that kind of competes with Merit's roster? Like, it makes sense for me to have like Dante play like Pelican the Tracer Sombra kind of heroes, and then Pelican is Pelican goes from like Echo Genji to even like some Soldier Cassidy kind of stuff.
Is it? I've never seen him play Cassidy.
I mean, I'm just speculating, but I'm just like, because otherwise you're in the situation where like Pelican would be the one to play like the Tracer Sombra kind of roles, if that's the meta, right? And then you'd have Dante play like the long range hit scan.
I think it makes more sense that Pelican and Dante split the flex DPS a little bit, where I don't think Pelican's ever been super well known for either Sombra or Tracer, whereas those are two of Dante's signatures. I don't think either of those two players are super well known for hit scan either, so Merit can just do what he wants there. And thank God Merit will not be on either Tracer or Sombra, because I don't think those are his strong picks at all from having casted his entire career. So good job. They can just be like, Dante, you take the weak heroes of Merit, and then Merit can do what he's good at. And then Pelican and Dante can kind of split their pool a little bit further. Pelican maybe goes a bit harder projectile, for example, the Echo Fire types, the May. I see Pelly coming in for the May. And whatever new flex DPS heroes get released. So that's probably what it's going to be. I assume. I think Dante and Pelican will share time. But anyone saying Dante's just perma bench, I mean, I think that's just incorrect.
Yep.
I think it's also like if you're the fourth guy picking a role, you almost always have to have a curveball that has more like upside and like peak potential
Yeah, fair.
than the other picks, right? Now for me, I need a flex DPS. And I think I have some choices here.
Yep.
So
You have Venom.
in my mind, it only makes only really, and that's my last pick. Zest makes sense here.
I knew you'd be going back to the fusion, huh? Always got to go back to the fusion. I fucking knew it.
I contradicted everything I said earlier.
All this shit about the fusion, and then you go back to them anyway.
The alternative
4K.
was Sam. I'm not sure if this kid is going to play much this season, to be fair. I think that's a tall order. And it will require very particular metas for this to happen. Zest in general, pretty much set, I think. Depending on the meta, of course. But then again, like, if Flex DPS is played, I expect him to play on this team. He's got some role to step into because that spot previously was, inhabited by people like EQO. So it's going to be hard. I think, like, maybe I've been a little bit harsh about the Philly Fusion because, like, generally speaking, I have been going as hard as to say I expect them to finish below the Valiant. I'm not sure if I want to defend that further, mainly because that would hurt my draft here. But I think generally speaking, I'm pretty happy with Zest as a fourth pick. In general.
I mean,
I'm really excited about
Zest,
this fusion team.
M3 Zest, pretty damn good. If there's, people can say shit about the fusion roster, but the best part about their roster is still the DPS.
Mm.
I mean, Fury is good, but the DPS is just nutty, so can't go wrong. I'd be a little shocked if both M3 and Zest, or either one of them, didn't make it onto this draft. I think they're two of the strongest rookies coming in this year, by far. Especially on a draft where Proper's not available. I mean,
yes.
I see your strategy, though. I mean, well played. You left Flex DPS for last because you saw 3 people pick it in their first round, so it's like, is what it is. You know why Flex DPS was different this time? Because last time, if you remember, we had Sam and Patty Pan, I think, in the Flex DPS draft.
Speedily,
and part of why that,
speedily opened that up, right?
So, there's 2 things that open up. 1, Speedily joined, and 2, Joe didn't pick 2 Flex DPS in a row.
Yeah, he didn't pick 2 Flex DPS. Alpha you stalker. We did you such a huge favor redrafting. Holy shit, dude.
So because you went Alpha Yi Stalker last time, we had to go. We had to start going down a little bit. We're like, fuck, who's left? Sam and Patty, I guess. Fuck it. Like that's the levels we had to go to. So when I scooped up Zest, Johnny was molding because he knew, like, the list was getting low. It was getting bad.
I could have picked Zest for my probably second DPS, and that wouldn't have been too wrong,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that would have really messed with Yiska.
Yes, true.
Yes, because like, fuck, I gotta take a punt here. It's got to be Patty. I don't know who else. She's gonna do it.
Yeah.
Like,
I really had to.
Oh my god! Yes.
I felt like I was bullshitting when I picked Padawan last time. I thought maybe I can sell it to the audience.
I'm worried about that transition, man. Yeah. I'm worried. I feel like I'm more worried than most people. I'm concerned. I hope it goes well.
Yeah.
Hey, he's well within top 500 now. People were like, "Oh, the guy's hard stuck Masters." I checked this stream. He was top 100. He was like ranked 70 something in one of the streams I saw. He was ranked 70 something. So I mean, it fluctuates, but he's climbed significantly after being in NA. I think actually playing in NA, where arguably the ranked is maybe easier in Korea. But then again, all the Overwatch League players have started to come over now, so maybe ranked will get a bit harder with all the Al pros from Korea starting to flood in.
I mean, they're presumably playing Alpha, right?
Well, only if they're scrimming. I don't know. Like, how good is Alpha practice? How good is Alpha practice when you don't have 99% of the player base in there and all the good top 500 players that you would rather be queuing in to exist in the live game, not in the alpha. So
Yeah. True.
I mean, the fact that you see a lot of our players still streaming ranked, like live ranked, should tell you a lot about what's going on there. But yeah, so good team. I like your team. Your team, pretty killing it. So Joe, you know what to do. There's a couple of Hangzhou players left. You know what to do.
There is. I think you may have spoken a little too soon, but who knows? I like the conversations had around Kilo and Merit. I think pretty similarly. I also think that Tracer being like a crux of the DPS like duo here is kind of important. I think it's not a hero that is going away anytime soon. I think it's historically been one of the most like prolific heroes of the game. I think when the game is good, Tracer's well within it. And you do want somebody at both flex and hit scan to be able to play it. And if I'm gonna be honest, I don't know enough about Kilo to speak on his Tracer, and I don't know that I would trust Merit. So it kind of comes down to whether I think Sojourn is going to be dominant throughout the entire season, which it very well could be, or if like something like Cassidy or Widow or Ashe kind of pops up. But I think there's a player who can kind of do both, if I'm gonna be honest. Which is a little weird to kind of look at now that I'm looking at the Gurio pick, and I'm like, oh yeah, I kind of like that. It's an outside shot, but I'm here for outside shots. So for the 19th pick in the Tactical Crouch 2022 rookie draft for Volamel's Vandalist vacuum cleaners, we're gonna be sucking up Pineapple as our hit scan DPS.
I don't hate it.
There it is.
There's the Hangzhou return.
Wow.
Johnny hates it though.
No, I'm just
he's
surprised.
about it.
I honestly thought you were about to cook up a Hydron pick.
I was so scared.
I like Hydron too. I do like him. I just can't speak on his like flick scans. I like that terminology. I've seen his Tracer. I don't know too much about his Cassidy. I don't know too much about like his mid to long range. So that I don't know. I've seen Pineapple though, so I can speak on him. I feel pretty confident in being able to put him on both Tracer and some of those flick scans.
I will say I also expected him to go Hydron, and I was already calculating the trajectory of my headset that I was going to throw.
I wouldn't have hated the Hydron pick. I mean, there's so many good hit scan DPS players. Like, you can't really go wrong with picking here. Like, inevitably, Reddit's going to be like, oh my god, they didn't pick this guy. But, like, there's tons of talents. Like, can't really go wrong.
Reddit's about to be like, they didn't pick Merit? What? They didn't pick Kilo? I mean, I think they're both worthy of being picked. I picked Kilo last time. I'm pretty happy about that. But the draft just went differently this time.
Kilo should have been drafted. You should have. I just fucked it up. Like, really.
No, you went for the Skewed Award. So. You went for the Skewed Award play. I respect it. I respect the Skewed Award play. Especially I know Russia's got a good eye for talent. Yeah, it's possible. It's very possible. I'm left in a weird place. I know that.
What do you need?
I need flex support. So, and I can't go European. So, just out of. Bias, really. No.
It's just
I haven't seen their gameplay.
Yeah.
I've legitimately. I don't think I've seen a single Provide game ever. So I think it wouldn't be right for me to just go for Provide because it's like I've never fucking seen them play, which is on me. That's on me, not on anyone else. But I don't think I could just be like, I'll just take a punt, just based off what everyone else says. That ain't me, I set the Reddit agenda. I don't follow what they say. They follow what I say. So, I'm gonna stick to my guns here. I like Majed, but I also haven't seen a single game of his. So under that same thing, I was like, I can't go for him. I can't go for him because I've never seen him play. Never seen Skarepa play. It's all these EU plays. Majed is EMEA. It's like Europe, Middle East, Africa. He's in the same region. I lob SA into that general EU kind of region.
Holy shit, he's going double main support.
No.
There is one flex support left that I have seen play. That's the only flex support player in this entire list remaining that I've actually seen play before is Irony. So Hangzhou, Hangzhou and Atlanta get to be the big winners of the second draft with 3 rookies each, and somehow Shock have just eaten shit because they went from 4 to 2. What's going on? Speedily changed the game that much. Speedily, and also Joe not picking double flex
pinching
has just completely changed the game. I think I had to go Ironing just because I think it would be wrong for me to pick any of the other 3 based off like what I know and what I can stand behind, and then you just got a bunch of main supports left.
I think Irony is promising. Like he also has some of that playmaking ability, you know, on the Ana.
Well, I think most people didn't watch because I think you know, if you're in NA Andy, you maybe have seen NA contenders, EU contenders. Probably pay attention to the grapevine of Korean contenders if you don't really watch it. I know you've definitely not seen Australian contenders. It's fine. I don't blame you. And you probably didn't watch Chinese contenders because, I mean, another region's got to cop the L. But the problem is you haven't seen Chinese contenders. And you just don't know these players from Chaser and Bilibili. These players on Chaser and Bilibili are so fucking good.
Yep.
And that Bilibili beat Chaser quite a bit as well. Chaser, some reason they just can't quite beat Bilibili, even though they're better in the regular season, and they get up against Bilibili and then they just fucking choke. I don't know what it is. Bilibili also play out of their minds. So as much as we memed on Joe, I think the Alpha E pick is solid for that reason. In fact, Alpha E and Pineapple so solid on that Bilibili team.
Yeah.
And on that backline as well, Irony, incredible player, really good player. He's actually Korean. People think he's Chinese. He's playing Chinese. He's actually a Korean player. So I managed to get collusion the Koreans again, which is pretty similar to his actual situation this year. So,
pretty much.
you know, I've just mirrored his team in several ways. So, not bad. It's okay. I as soon as Vigilante was gone, I was like, well, I guess I saved Flex support for last then. I can't pick Flex support anymore. That's right. I lost out on Vigilante, but it is what it is. Cool. Looking good. Shall we go through all our different rosters? And have a little bit of a comparison. Johnny's first. Speedily, Chorong, Ultraviolet, Someone, and Gurio. 2 members of the potential skewed club this year. 2 skewed club members. The number 16.
Oh, you think someone is a skewed club member?
I think so, because he's hella underrated. I think most people being just, plenty of analysts, and also I think the entire fan base, the entire audience is like, who's Someone? Nah, this guy's not going to be good.
It's funny because he is named Someone. He doesn't actually like set the community up for any kind of analytical conversation or any kind of like
his name's too
fact-based conversation. Yeah, like it's just dad jokes everywhere.
Yeah,
no one ever talks about his actual skill and how good he is. But I think there's definitely something there. I think people in general are really sleeping on the Florida Mayhem. Me included, by the way. I'm not gonna, proclaim that I have a huge belief in the Florida Mayhem by any means. I really don't like the Animo signing. They picked up Kariv, it was announced like the other day. I'm not really rating the Florida Mayhem, but no one is talking about him. So maybe someone, maybe Hydron will be like a couple of guys who come out of that mix looking really good.
I'm not saying Florida's gonna win a title this year. The people are putting them 20th place, and I'm just like, that's disrespectful. That's just not correct. People are literally putting them last. I'm like, what the fuck?
They're very likely to be the team that Paris was last year, or maybe even
a little better. 19th. They're at least 19th. I think the Paris comparison is really good because Paris was that kind of team. You probably put them quite low, and then they surprise you. Mayhem is likely to be the Paris this year, even though Paris is still there. Paris might still be the Paris of this year, but you might have both Paris and Mayhem being the Paris of this year.
I think Paris is going to be the Paris of last year.
Interesting.
Well, I think the Mayhem are going to be the Valiant of 2 years ago.
That would be so interesting.
Well, that's because they've reunited all these Valiant players together. You have Adam, you have Kariv, you have McRave, you have Gumba. They've literally just rebuilt 2020 Valiant on this team.
Yeah, no, I think they're going to be good. I think that like this is the team to like punch above their weight. I mean, we talked about it last, previewing the team. I think as much as like I've always poo-pooed Kariv just based on community narrative, like I think he's going to do good for this team. That's not to speak against Majed, but that's one less question mark you have to kind of like view the Mayhem with, right? Like you have Kariv, you know what you're going to get. like it or hate it or love it, whatever. You know what you're gonna get. You don't have to have worries about if he can perform or not. That's one less worry. I like it. I think it's all right.
But yeah, I do think someone is a skewed award candidate because he's hella underrated. I think to be a skewed award candidate, you have to be someone that's insanely underrated that no one's really looking at, and then you like massively overperform.
Yeah. Also we can't like give the we have to set the bar high for the skewed award. Skewed was literally like top 3 brig in the league, like at the end of the year, like top 3. Like his stats.
That'll be rough for someone. That'll be rough.
Yeah, that'll be rough. Because I mean, skewed. Not to dismiss any of his achievements and the stats he put up and like how he played, but he was on a really good team as well. The environment was definitely part of it. He played alongside Shu, and some main supports, some brig players, they wouldn't have been able to like stand a candle to what Skewed did. Like if you put fucking closers like brig next to Shu, like oh my god, that would be a disaster. But like credit to Skewed, but he was in a really good environment. So I don't think if someone has that same environment, that's why I think Gurio is such an interesting pick here. That's why I think he's the skewed club, because he comes out of nowhere in a really good environment, really good team. And if he just comes in, plays great hit scan, people are gonna cream themselves with this guy. I'm really looking forward to it.
I think I kind of mean it in just more of a sense of like an underrated player overperforming because under the guise of like the actual skewed level, that's like the most extreme version of like no one knows who he is. Everyone's like, who the fuck is this guy? And then boom, he's like number 1 in his position for his hero, maybe.
The Dawn Award.
So I don't think I think I like that's like that's the North Star of that kind of award. But if someone shoots for the stars and maybe lands on the moon, we'll see. I still think he's kind of fits the bill of just hella underrated player that's probably better than people think. I think Gurio's in a different position because he just has to he can be that guy too, but realistically, if you take him away from fantasy, he has to compete against 3 DPSs on his team.
I mean, someone's just sorry for interrupting you, AVRL. I feel like I've been doing that a lot. I just wanted to apologize for that. But someone's going to undermine my arguments and just be like, this guy didn't pick Kilo, didn't pick Merit because of inconsistency and like fighting for a DPS slot. And this man picked Gurio over Edison, Doa, and Sparkle. So I've already undermined my own argument for picking him. So.
Someone probably doesn't have to compete aside. He only has to compete against one other person. And I think it's way more likely for a tank to play over another tank just based on meta. For example, if Ryan is meta, someone's going to be playing instead of Adams, just straight up. So it's just you can bank on these tanks a lot more in terms of playtime versus their counterparts, which is why I think the Rhino pick is okay as well, because there are plenty of metas where Rhino probably does play over space. So yeah, it's the reinforced team locked in speedily, game changer right there. Speedily, ultraviolet Chorong, massive, huge 3-starter, and then potential award winners for the last 2 in terms of let's hope they are good.
I think okay, maybe you guys disagree, but like. In my mind, if you don't count proper, I think Chorong is the guy that's the furthest away from the second guy in his role.
Oh, so like the main support leader?
Yeah, he's like... Okay. Chorong is much better, comparatively, or more better than Chio, who I think is the second guy, than anyone else is by comparison. I think, who else would it even be? Like, I think, for instance, a Protaimon 3 is a wash almost. Vigilante Finn, if you don't count the coming later into the year, it's a wash. Kellen, that's maybe the argument, where Kellen is probably better than...
It's hard to say based on like how tanks are going to turn out, but...
Right.
If we're looking at it from an Overwatch 1 lens, then yeah, I'd probably agree.
Yeah. Otherwise, like Chorong is just like, and you better believe this boy was expensive. Like, that's a guy that you can be really excited about. I just hope this team doesn't shit the bed and waste that talent, because this is the mag level signing this year, right?
Potentially, yeah. I mean, you see the 2 zeros in Charong's name, by the way. That's the 2 extra digits he got added onto the salary for this year.
Yeah.
You think a main support
In
player got
fact.
paid?
Oh, we know a main support player got paid.
I wonder if he is the best.
He got cha-chinged.
I'm like reasonably confident he's the best paid main support in the league.
He's also on a 3-year contract, is he not?
Wait, Charong?
Yeah.
Adam said he was on like a 2 to 3 year contract. When they signed him, Adam Adama was like, "Yeah, we believe in building for the future." Blah blah blah. And the tweet's out there.
Oh yeah, signed until 2024.
Yeah,
the tweet is deleted.
Oh, Pog.
Oh no.
Deleted. Scraped.
If only
Redacted.
If only there was a way to bring up things that were deleted on the internet. Oh well.
Unlucky.
So it's a 2+1 apparently. So the third is optional. I don't know.
Right.
I guess
It's
it's
crazy.
optional.
2+1 is nuts, by the way.
Mm.
But
It's
then
a rare
again,
deal.
once again, like 2+1s don't mean that much anymore if you don't know how quickly the organization can get rid of his contract and if he has that 30-day, 60-day, 90-day, or whatever clause in there, right?
It's actually safer for players. The better contract for players now is the 1 year, right? 1+0.
Yep.
Whereas like 2+1s, 1+1s, those are typically better for the org than it is the player, to my knowledge.
Yeah, it's like they are very convoluted in how the optionality works now, right? Theoretically speaking, like for instance, I'm not sure if Carpe was on a 2+1. I assume he was. That meant he had 2 years guaranteed, right? That the 2+1 that Charong got doesn't necessarily have to be 2 guaranteed years for him, right? Like he could be a 2+1, but his contract could say we can get rid of you with a severance of like 90 days. That's possible now, right? Or 30 days at the least, right? We definitely increased some optionality for teams in general, but we won't know. Like he could have negotiated that part of his contract easily. So maybe it is an actual 2+1 as we know it from previous years. We don't know, but bottom line is like this guy had a ton of competition in the market this year, and like I think there's also an argument to be made that Toronto missed a bunch of their targets this year, and they just went like, we're not going to miss Charong. Like we're going to lock him up, and as a result, this now rivals for the best backline in
Charong Twilight.
Yeah, that's
fucking crazy. So the team is, again, for the audio listeners, Speedily, Charong, Ultraviolet, Someone, Gorio, in that order for joining. Let's move over to where Joe is, where, like I said, Reiner ends up being a pretty big pick. I mean, this is a way better roster than what Joe had last time. Immediately, it's just because he's got an actual hit scan plus flex DPS. But also the OG Vigilante duo there is pretty pog as well.
Yeah, I didn't like. No, it's not that I don't like Provide. I think like he's going to be somebody that I think we're talking about by the end of the season, in good ways. As much as London's probably going to be struggling. Let's be honest. I think he'll be kind of a bright spot for them. I've heard lots of good things about Vigilante and some of this, the VODs that I've seen. He does stick out like a sore thumb. OG, I don't think I need to really kind of speak on, the old AT backline. They're proven, tested. I think I wanted to keep the Tracer, like I mentioned with the pick of Pineapple. I wanted to keep that like Tracer flex open. And I just couldn't trust Kilo or Merit to be like not good enough, but like consistent enough. And I've seen Pineapple on that BLG team. They trade off constantly. I've been a big fan of Alpha E since I think like the old GC Busan wave with like him in like a tune. If memory serves me right, like this kid's been cracked for a long time. I think people are going to be, really have their eyes open. Granted, I'm a little concerned with how the Spark do in general, but they're never shy for talent, right? And that's, not to be punny.
And they have Shy on their team as well.
Yeah, it feels like Pineapple is just like a little shy in that way, like mini shy.
He's only a little bit shy. He's mostly confident, a little bit shy.
Yeah. He likes the stage. He likes the limelight. So I think if I had to, if I couldn't take Shy, obviously he's not a rookie. Pineapple feels like a solid replacement in that way. And then you have, Pineapple Alpha Yi. They've got that synergy. Got that.
I was going to say, you have the only team of the 4 teams that has any like duo synergy. Speedily Ultraviolet, they don't play the same roles, but Alpha Yi Pineapple is an actual DPS duo.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That wasn't like
never
a huge.
Play together. Because
let's be honest, probably not. Probably not.
No, you're right.
But I mean, let's be honest. Like,
based on what we're hearing right here, Volamel could be a Hangzhou Spar coach with these decisions.
It's possible. Who knows?
That contenders synergy, way more valuable than Shy. It's a team game.
Would also be better.
Team game, yeah. No, I mean, even if like you put me in that role, I think Shy gets played. Like after watching him for that long, it's hard not to. Like,
so what you're saying is, I trust you more than former.
I would trust me to trust you to trust me more to put Shy in. Yes.
Thank God, Shy would actually play.
Shy thanks you as well.
So why go Pineapple then?
Because I can't pick Shy, you dumbass.
You realized you had other choices, right? Like you don't have to be a China stan. You can absolutely pick.
He explained why he didn't pick the other choices. You went to the toilet. You missed out.
Okay.
He explained.
So while I went to the toilet, he took a verbal shit.
Yes.
Come on. Like this, there are a couple, like you could have gone, Kilo or whatever. That's possible.
And how do you rate his Tracer? Give me on a scale from 1 to fucking PogChamp. How high do you rate Tracer?
Does it matter if this guy plays 5 minutes against Shy?
Unfortunately, in Fantasyland,
in Fantasyland, everyone's
Avril picks soccer.
Exactly, and I'm going to defend him when it comes my turn. In Fantasyland, I just realized, by the way, Joe was not the second pick. It was actually Yiska, but.
Yeah.
Whatever, we do what we do. Any further comments here? Alpha, Rhino, Vigilante, OG, Pineapple.
I think I like my team personally. Similar kind of strategy.
That's at least one person that likes it.
I hope Finn gets benched. just to spite you. I hope Finn gets benched. I don't know. I hope they sign Moth like mid-season and they just bench him and it's just Violet Moth.
Well, let's be clear about something. Violet will never be benched.
That's right.
Because he's the head. He's both the head coach and general manager of the team. So Violet's never benching
himself. A fucking warlord.
Shock aren't signing Moth mid-season because the only reason Moth would join would probably be if they were already successful and they could be like championship potential. But if they were so desperate that they had to sign a main support in the middle of the season in the first place, they'd probably be garbage. And so you'd want the main support to come in and try to help this team because they wouldn't need help if they had to sign a main support.
True.
Or yeah, something like that.
Yeah, that checks out. I wouldn't want to join a team that's like just struggling.
They might get Jixay.
Is that how he joined in the first place?
Bro, we're talking about Moth like, he's just sitting on a throne of luxury with so many options. What do you mean? I'm just not going to join this team. What are your other options, Moth? What are your other options?
I don't know, real life.
That's true.
Did he not join Shock back in the day, like stage 2? Am I misremembering that?
No, he was delayed. Oh, wait, did it join then?
Mm-hmm.
Bro, unless Moth is on like the Libero crypto wagon, or like what, I don't know what he could be doing right now.
There's such a fun like recent players that aren't in the league anymore that you could put in.
He was academically pretty successful. I'm not sure how much this should be said outside of him, but yeah, he was he definitely has something going on outside.
Mm-hmm.
Fair enough. I'm not saying they don't. I'm not saying all OWL players are only capable of playing OWL and nothing else, but in the context of like,
but if you wanted to, it's
in the context of like assuming you want to play in the league, assuming that is a priority for someone, then and you currently don't have an offer, I don't think anyone can be in the position of like, nah, I'm just not going to join Shock. If assuming you want to play in the league, because you don't have another fucking choice. You know, if you want to play, you got to play.
Yeah.
You'd be like Exy right now. We're like, fuck, I just want to play. Any team, take me, please. So, yeah. But look, hey, power to him. If he's got other things going on in his life and he's happy doing that, power to him. That's great. I want him to be successful. So, get in there, son. Yiska, your team. Calendar, Pritter, Finn, Vindame, Zest.
I feel very good about my team.
Of course you do. You got Kellen. You got part of my team last week. You're like, what was AVRL's team? Yeah, let me just pick a bunch of those guys. Of course you feel good.
No, to be fair, I was sitting in second position, and in my mind, Johnny was either going to pick Kellen or a Pritter. That was how it was going to go, and I was going to pick the other, right? I think Speedily is fair in Fantasyland. I know you guys probably like. I personally value him highly as a flex DPS. I think he probably
Who?
Speedily.
Who? Oh yes.
I think we had the discussion, like just how good he is. I think this kid is probably the best Echo in the world, for instance. And Jenny is just like probably the best player coming out of AT, to be honest. If it's not him, it's Ultraviolet. You get both of those. But yeah, I like, and I realized Tank was just so competitive, right? I also thought like it's going to be hard, like picking anyone. Like the way the draft unraveled after that, I just thought, okay, I'm not going to get like, in my mind, you guys were just going to get your tank picks out of there after me, because we all realized last time that it was so competitive, and I was going to sit there like having to pick someone or something, which is not too big down the line. I would have just then let the tank pick be last, but yeah, the way the draft went, generally speaking, just allowed me to pick like main support and flex DPS. I realized, honestly, like Zest is not too big of a downgrade from like the best non-proper pieces.
No.
We'll definitely play the entire season. That's something that I enjoy, because there's some falsification method for this pick. Like, if he sucks, then I was wrong. I think the same. It's less true for Finn. I think there's a world where like they get another main support and Violet actually gets onto the flex support position. To be fair, I'm not sure if Violet is actually as untouchable. I mean, we talked about this before, like how he wasn't once and was offered. But then, yeah, I think the main support selection after Chio and Charong is out of there, it's getting thinner, and I think I'm pretty happy with Windheim at that point. Yeah, overall, I think everyone's first 3 picks are pretty decent to good, with the exception of Joe.
Listen, can you like get a script of your own? Last year you juiced with Scrimbucks, and your power rankings look the exact same, and now you first pick Kellen just like AVRL. Like, do you have a creative or like unique thought in that brain of yours?
Because those two are players in the league as well.
Your problem is that you think like whoever wins is determined by creativity, when it is about being correct. Which
I don't know. Ask the Dallas Fuel. Ask the Chengdu Hunters. I don't know. Maybe it's like nobody's thought that way.
Thought what?
I'm just gonna play the meta. I'm gonna be the Washington Justice and look like dog shit the entire season. Shut up.
We're going back there. We're going back.
That's a woeful opinion.
You sound like a fucking clown. Go back to Reddit.
Is this what the guys do here?
No,
Jesus Christ.
I basically, what I do, Johnny, this is what I do. What I do is like, you've seen Dark Knight, right? With Heath Ledger and stuff. I'm like,
only the first one.
Yeah. Well, basically, it's the scene where he pretends to be dead, and then he's recruiting gangsters, and he breaks the billiard pole in half, and he's like, I only got space for one on my team, and they have to fight each other. That's what I do.
Oh,
with
yeah,
Yiska and
yeah.
Joe. That's what I do with Yiska and Joe. I just watch them fight. It's like that scene from The Simpsons with the whole circle of people with money betting on the
Yes.
two monkeys fighting, but it's just me and
We're
the
the
two
monkeys.
monkeys. Yeah.
We're shit flinging monkeys. That's definitely true.
But it's a solid team. I
And just
obviously
like the monkeys, you don't get paid for making content in Overwatch.
Correct.
There you go.
content
Yeah.
monkeys. Finn's a big win on this team.
Yes.
Finn's a
yes,
big win on
Finn's
this
very
team. I probably fucked up by not targeting flex support earlier, but
good. It was like a rat. It
Yeah.
felt like a rat race. Did anybody else kind of feel that way? It's like right when Kellen gets picked, it's like, all right, we're not trying to pick any bad main tanks here, guys.
Because
we're
as soon
trying not
as-
to be false.
oh, it's a rule of scarcity because as soon
Yeah.
as something's off the table, you're like, oh fuck, the pool's getting quite thin, the
Mhm.
water's getting a bit shallow here. You better dive in before. It's like somebody buys Bitcoin, you see it going up, you're like, oh, I better get in early, Gotta get on the GameStop early before it skyrockets too much. Otherwise I'm dropping 200k and losing all of it like a certain person. But and it's all good. Don't worry about it. It's just a joke. It did happen, but I'm joking. I don't want that person to be upset. But we are, yeah. I mean, it's a good pick. Everyone does have. I think all the first, second, third round picks are pretty clear and pretty easy. Tons of good talent. You can't miss out. And a lot of the strategy comes down to like from third pick onwards. What can you kind of like just steal away?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Or how could you potentially screw another person over? Stuff like that. So, not much to really further say about your team other than just an overall solid team. You covered all your bases, and everybody works. Looking over towards mine, I think I got really starry-eyed about Stalker. I was like, oh, he's open, he's available.
Yeah, it's a strong pick.
I gotta snag him before Joe does Alpha U Stalker again. And trust me, Joe would have been after me again because I was 4-5, he was 6, right? So I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think in good faith I could do it again. Like looking back on it, I'm just like, who can I pick that like has like a phenomenal tracer and like could play hit scan? It's like, oh, Stalker's
So
on
here's the
table.
thing. I think Stalker is like an insane flex DPS because he actually has one of those wild pulls where he does cover hit scan, does cover projectile, covers tracer exceptionally well.
Mhm.
So we're talking about a guy where, over his career that I cast him in, he's been the lead hit scan player on Gen G when it's a hit scan meta. He's also been the lead projectile player when it's a projectile meta. He's also been the lead tracer when it's a tracer meta. He is like the mini proper for his team. Just that obviously the pieces around him on Gen G were not nearly as good as the pieces around proper on O2. O2's general team around proper has been insane, whereas Stalker has had to be like the leave of Gen G and just had to drag his team at certain points. Like, fuck, man, I wish I could put some better players around Stalker, but it is what it is. This guy is pretty. I think because of Gen G's lack of success as a roster outside of Gauntlet 2020, he and maybe his general reputation is dragged through the mud because of his team's underperformance, lack of success, all of it together. I'm pretty sure Stalker and Glister were together at one stage as well, if I'm not mistaken, on was it Gauntlet? Did they play together in Gauntlet? I'm trying to remember. Let me just go to Wikipedia real quick. Because I think they were on at the same time, and if they were, that would have been a crazy good duo. Yeah, Glister, Stalker, Wakid.
That's nuts.
Glister and Stalker played together. Glister, Stalker together was pretty fucking crazy.
Do you believe in the Glister glow up for Paris this year? Just to
I
sidetrack a
think
little bit.
so. I think he's an upgrade. He is an upgrade. I think him and JMac have a good working relationship as well. And I think it's pretty clear that Glister chose. Did he potentially choose a pay cut to be with Paris, just to be with JMac? Is that the
Do you think
story?
he had a
Or
lot
did I
of
get it wrong?
offers this year?
Probably not.
I think he would have had more offers than just Paris, surely. Am I wrong?
That's probably true.
I gotta assume like teams
Paris
like a Dallas
Paris could not have been the only. Paris could not have been the only team.
Where would he go
surprised.
otherwise? Let's think. Thinking
I
caps on.
I think Dallas with him would have. I think Dallas probably should have gone for him.
I think they probably had an off. If I had like gun to head, Like, did they have an offer? You've got to assume.
So the reason I don't think they did is because if they did, I think Lissa would have gone to Dallas. As much as he likes J-Mac,
Yeah.
I don't think he likes J-Mac enough to go to Paris instead of Dallas. Let's be real here. Unless unless there's some mad friends with benefits thing going on there that, you know, Glissa's like, I'm in love. I made this joke last week, but Johnny wasn't here to hear it, so I'll do it again. I'm in love. I'm going to marry J-Mac, and the best part, no prenup. It's happening, baby. It's happening. And he's going over to Paris. So unless J-Mac's offering that, I don't think he's taking that deal over Dallas if that was on the table.
I mean, it does like signal, not a desperate, but it does signal like a lack of offers unless the power of friendship is literally that strong. But
Houston could have taken him.
Houston is a,
taken him.
Yeah, I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
So many teams could have taken him. I don't know.
I think it's a really fun fit. I think in Paris as well, like he doesn't necessarily have the pressure that he faced on Shock either. And I think Paris is like a really smart team.
Yeah.
I think I'm looking forward to see more from Paris. I think they could be a team that potentially abuses some of these teams that necessarily doesn't have their support line figured out, doesn't have their tank role figured out. They're a stable, smart team that I think are going to play a very consistent, smart game. And we have a lot of teams that are a bit in flux at the moment. So they could expose that.
Yeah. I think overall, like that team in general, not to completely dive into a Paris like team preview, but I think that DPS lineup is something that like not a lot of people rate too highly. I think a lot of people are sleeping on Naga, and I think people were like soured by the Glister of last year for the few times that we saw him.
But he was solid last year. I don't know. So moving on from that, tank. I just played the Yiska card. He's go on.
I wanted to ask you something about Stalker, and you might have to break my heart here. Do you think there's a chance that he benches one of the starters on Soul?
Yes, I do. Most likely he benches Fitz. And people are going to be like, AVRL's crazy. How could he bench Fitz? Well, there could be metas where Prophet needs to be the guy on let's say an Echo, on a Fire, on a Genji, on the typical Prophet heroes, and you need another Tracer. Now, one of Soul's weaknesses last year was they had the leave issue where Prophet had to carry too much because Fitz is flexible. He's good. But outside of his normal hit scan, he plays Sombra and Doomfist, which don't get me wrong, those are great picks. However, in positions where you only have 2 DPS because, I don't know, say BLB was invisible is what it is. So let's just pretend there was only 2 DPS because say BLB just didn't exist on that team. So you didn't have a second Tracer. So Prophet had to be your only Tracer, which means realistically for Soul, because Tracer's so integral, you just play Tracer plus hit scan or Tracer's Echo. Tracer Sombra is really good, so I think they kind of get away with it. But my general storyline is you can never have Fitz on this Tracer, and we did see a few times when Soul tried to put Fitz on Tracer, and it wasn't good. It wasn't good enough. Not in I mean, it's passable, but you cannot have a passable Tracer in this league. We learned that lesson last year. Passable Tracer means you fail. You need elite Tracer or you simply cannot compete. And so in Echo Tracer metas, which did exist last year, Soul struggled because Prophet had to obviously play the Echo, and Fitz was just like, fuck, I don't know how to play Tracer. This is scuffed. And Soul just kind of buckled under that. So there are plenty of metas that Stalker does play because he does bring a lot of extra utility to the table to supplement Prophet's hero pool. And I'm trying to think of would there be any metas that you'd play? Yeah, maybe double hit scan. You'd play Stalker Fitz as well for double hit scan. I could see that. But I think Stalker's going to get a lot more playtime than people give him credit for. People just assume he's going to be perma-benched because the Prophet's duo is so legendary, and it is. Yep. But there are plenty of heroes that Fitz doesn't cover that Stalker would fill the gaps in.
Like, can you imagine Soul last year with Stalker? Like, this kid looks like he's a stud in like contenders. Like he looks like he's just diffing people. And he should be in the Overwatch League, and he's probably better than most of the Overwatch League. Yeah.
He's different people, and he's on a team that just blows, and he's like the one good player on his team. So, if we're talking about a Flatter deadlift award, I mean, Stalker was that. Flatter was like a deadlift. Stalker was a deadlift player on his team, 100%, just because he had to carry his team so fucking hard. The Stalker backpack was a very real thing in pretty much every iteration of Gen G.
If you want it felt like Gauntlet was like the big eye opener for me. I don't know if there's like a big like match to point to for you, AVRL, that you were just like, yo, this kid just like is
any of them,
nutting.
all of them, really.
All of them.
He was doing the leave carry. He was doing the deadlift
Agreed.
every single game, you know, something like that. Yeah, and that was the meta as well. That was the year that I think he showed how good his tracer was, just to cement everything else. He already showed me his hit scan, already showed his projectile, and then he's like, you know what? My tracer's up there, and it was. So, well done. Moving on. So Stalker, very happy about him. I think I just had I was real starry-eyed about it, so I just had to snag him up. Kaluj, I just did the opposite of Yiska. He took Kellen, so I took Kaluj. We just traded places on the tanks there. Here's what it is. MN3, who I've said plenty of good things about. You notice, by the way, how I take plays with 3 in their names. So I lock that down. I don't think there were any other plays with 3. So after I took MN3 Stalker, it was like, well, now I'm just allowed to pick anybody because, you know, I got all the 3s out of there. What else do I need to say? I mean, really, really solid player. Covers all the hit scans. Has the tracer. Very important that on my team, I have 2 players that have tracer. I think that's something I value a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I love when teams have that.
Yeah,
When
I
they
think
have
it gives you
players
so
that
much
can, like,
flexibility.
both play. Yeah.
It allows you to do so much. I've just seen too many times in previous seasons where a team is limited in hero pool because only one guy plays tracer, and you're like, well, I guess we can't play this meta or this composition. We can only do this.
Yeah.
So MN3 solid. Sniper's insane. Go look at his. Philly made a compilation for his signing.
Yeah.
You can just look at that if you're lazy. If you want to put in more work like Johnny and you want to watch the VODs are available from T1. Sadly, they didn't get to play in the finals and the other second match as well because of COVID. But I think T1 would have been right up there. MN3 is just a huge pickup for Fusion. The fact that they got Zest and MN3 is insane. Chio is the immediate pick after Chorong, and also a great pick in his own regard. I think that, I probably have Chorong first. I don't know if I agree there's a huge gap. It's not a proper level gap by any means.
Mhm.
It's just like it might be a bit of a gap. I don't think it's like gigantic. There's no gulf between these 2 players. You have to consider its main support where it can be difficult to really ascertain huge output. I think Chorong's active on the kill feed and active in his playstyle, similar to Lee Jae-gon, which makes him exciting, makes him valuable, makes him a playmaker.
I think
Probably saw a little bit.
the exciting thing about Chorong is that at least Toronto thinks they also got a flex support there. A guy that can cover the flex support if push comes to shove, right? Yeah.
I think they do subscribe to that. Yeah, I think Chio's going to have to do something like that because they don't have a flex support on Dallas either. So they're doing Field of Chio, and Chio should be an upgrade over Jexa for sure. And Chio was he played the mostly played Brig last year, but it was mostly a Brig meta. Can't remember seeing too much Lucio, but he also did play Lucio in Runaway. So you have to remember he was also on that Runaway squad. So that's where you probably have to look if you want to see some Chio Lucio, but otherwise you play a lot of Brig. And then finally, Irony. I mean, the pool started to get a bit weak for me, but I still think Irony is a solid pick. The Irony Hyunjae duo on Billy Billy was really, really good. I actually thought maybe they would both be picked up.
Yeah.
But ended up only being Irony. Is Hyunjae
I don't think
old enough, or is he under?
I mean, they picked up Super Rich, right? I think you gotta prioritize.
Yeah, that's actually fair.
Yeah, I guess if you get Super Rich, you're not gonna double up a main support, so it's unlucky for Hyunjae, sadly.
Yeah.
So
I'll second the Hyunjae vote though. Definitely stood out.
Super Rich is probably a very worthwhile pickup for the Hangzhou Sparks. So it makes a lot of sense.
We didn't pick him this time. Is that
no? Because who did get picked? OG Chorong, Vindame. Let me have a look at what was last time. Shit.
Did Chio get picked last time?
I don't think we
Yeah,
picked Vindam,
he did.
right?
Oh.
No, we had Chio, Chorong, OG, and Super Rich.
Okay, no
Joe picked
Vindam.
Super Rich.
Yep.
No Vindame last time is why.
Yep.
So
I mean, do you feel a bit better about Super Rich flexibility over Vindime? Didn't Vindime primarily play Brig? No?
I think it was just a Brig meta. I mean, Super Rich mainly played Brig as well. It was just a Brig meta.
Fair enough.
I think Super Rich's other very key hero has typically been the Mercy, and that's because he just pockets either Dia on the Ashe or he pockets Spectra in the Echo. So I haven't seen a lot of Super Rich Lucio because none of the teams he's ever played on has really played Lucio. They've only
Nothing-
really played
nothing
Brig and
modern, yeah.
Mercy.
Did he
And
hold
that's
his
maybe just
level?
China. Say what?
Did he hold his level? Because like I remember like everyone when Team CC was nuts, this kid like everyone thought he was definitely going to Overwatch League, and like thought this kid was like the second coming of
Well-
Li Jiagon or something.
Well, they from a China perspective, they did believe he was better than Nisha and Yveldt. Or definitely Nisha, definitely better than Nisha
Mm.
was their position.
Yep.
And I mean, you can ask Kenobi. Kenobi will tell you that Super Rich is a better
Oh,
player than
Super is
Nisha.
crazy.
So
Yeah.
there was that. So I think that was maybe a surprising, but Nisha ended up being pretty good. So I guess Chengdu didn't lose out on too
Mhm.
much. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not entirely sure.
Mhm.
He was obviously really good. I mean, he wasn't like a giant. He did some playmaking on the Brig. It's hard because I think for main supports to get really excited, you want to see their Lucio too,
Mm.
just to be like, what kind of Lucio do they have? Are they active? Do
Sure.
they do stuff around the map? You know, are they clutch? Because Lucio kind of does that for your team. So not seeing that maybe weakens his, people's excitement of him a little bit because it's just a bit more of an unknown factor. We'll have to see in Overwatch 2, what happens. Is Lucio going to be a big pick or not? Because that's going to determine a lot of people's, the main supports and how good they are in terms of quality will probably come down to heroes like that. And if it is, guys like Chorong are going to dominate because we know his Lucio is insane.
I really hope so. By the way, I generally feel, I'm not sure if you guys agree, but like there are very few. Okay, let's say if Moira the hero didn't exist, almost every Lucio meta is exciting.
Oh, for sure. It's just another role that can be a gigantic playmaker.
Unfortunately, with Moira, Lucio just becomes a hard into run 6 down mid kind of team.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And that's less exciting, but
yeah. I
oh
agree.
man, Moira just get rid of Moira and the game she's better, right? So
Just to hit her with the Orisa style rework, like just new hero her. Just rebuild her.
cool.
You have the money.
So as we hit the 2-hour mark, I think we all have pretty I think this round, this version of the draft was a bit more competitive than last time.
Mm.
Everyone kind of, got a bit more strats under the belt.
Mhm.
More even teams.
I mean, I think this is a pretty controversial draft, quite honestly, because I could see like listeners and viewers really have different opinions on players that should have been picked up, whether that's Kilo and Sam
Yeah.
or Merit, stuff like that. I mean, we say that like you can't go wrong, but I think if we look back at this draft after the season, I think there might potentially be some standout picks that like really look bad, and me included on Curio, right?
Yeah,
But
it's possible.
there are so many good rookies that it's hard to pick the right ones. And if you want to
Mhm.
take on some risk like me, then you can do that. But this could really, there's just at least 5 more players that you would have liked to see drafted,
Oh, for
but
sure.
you can't fit them all in.
What do you think?
the obvious ones anyway?
What do you
Do we
think?
want to go
Just-
through like the obvious ones? Which are the obvious ones?
Yeah, I'd like to hear like who's the guy we didn't pick that is like has the highest peak potential, like where we just like look this most
I mean-
stupid for not
I
picking.
mean, is it not
I mean,
just Kilo?
probably Kilo Merit. I mean, one of
Yeah.
those guys, maybe both of those guys. They're just obvious. It's just like it's obvious that, especially on a team like Shock that are built to succeed,
Mhm.
you land in a heavy hit scam meta. Kilo ends up on his head side of the coin of consistency, and he starts doing ARNS level stuff. You're like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
there it is. And you're like, well, that's the Kilo. That's Kilo for you. Who when he's hitting shots, man, he's hitting some shots.
What
He's
about
not
Patty?
missing.
Yep.
Patty could land pretty well as well. I mean,
Yeah,
again, people probably
depends.
underrate him because he's like, oh, Valorant guy, hard stuck masters, but he's clearly deep in the top 500 now, so that we can put that to bed.
The reason why I think this could pop off is because I know Face is a big believer in Patty. Like I think that you can still find tweets calling him like the most talented player in Overwatch history, like the best player in the world, stuff like that, right? Like I think you should expect that he at least will be given the chance. Now,
Oh, for sure.
depending on what
It
his hero pool looks like, bruh, like some of that is just like Kevsta is like a top 3 player in his role in the league, right? Like it's depending
I'll
on what
speak
you
to
play.
I've watched more Paddy than anyone
Mhm.
outside of probably Fakes who coached them. But in fact, I've probably looked at Paddy more than Fakes has because I looked over Paddy's career pre-Talent Esports when Paddy was on a full Thai team and he stood out, easily stood out. He was on the Thai national roster for World Cup. He talked to, I remember in an AMA with, oh shit, why am I blanking out? What's the other Dallas Thai player? Mickey. AMA with Mickey. I'm like, who's the best? I can't remember if I said Thai or just like Pacific players. Like, who's the best Thai player right now? He's like Patapan for sure. Like, not even close. That's including himself. Second is not even close. So, but you know, don't just take Mickey's word for it. Just looking over his career, he's had some crazy metas where he has been simultaneously like probably the best Widowmaker. Widowmaker is actually one of his best picks. I don't know if it still is, which by the way leads to how good he was in Valorant because you know you just play these hit scans, bring them over to Valorant. He was a jet player. He was playing the operator. He was like the sniper on the team as well. So actually, people think he's mostly a flex player, but he's a flex player with like a crazy sniping pool as well. Like he just plays this Widow. I don't know if he still has that with him. I assume he probably should, given he just came from Valorant. Yeah. But he does have to compete with Arns for that Widow. So he probably doesn't get a lot of time on Widow if Arns is on the team and is playing at the same time. And it's actually unlikely that Arns and Paddy play together because you would have to bench Kevster. And I just don't see Glads benching Kevster. So, but the good news is, even if you are playing Paddy Kevster, you have that extra, like, maybe Paddy just jumps on a Widow and he can do that. But Paddy's just, he played the Doomfist as well. He plays, I think he doesn't play some of the hard projectiles like Echo. He's probably leaned towards more of a, dare I say, hit scan heavy. He definitely has Tracer. Definitely has May. I'm trying to remember if he did Genji as well.
What, Paddy? Yeah, I'm pretty sure he played Genji.
Yeah,
didn't he play a lot of Genji when he was like 15 for that Thai World Cup team?
Oh, he did. He did. Actually, he did play Genji for the World Cup. I remember that. Yeah, we were both there. In Thailand, He did bring out the Genji. It was solid.
That was I mean, I played against that team. That was such a scary team to play against because, one, you know that they're, Thailand, you should be able to beat these guys because you come from like way more infrastructure, way better practice partners, scream like that. You hate going up against teams like that come from a region that you haven't been able to scout out as much, and they have like the underdog thing going for them. Everyone loved the Thai team because Mickey and Paddy right? And so you already have that disadvantage. And then these guys, I remember like so vividly, they're like super aggressive. Like they just run into you. And those teams are scary to play, whether it's like, Selfless in 2017 or if it's Dallas Fuel in 2021. Playing super aggressive teams like that is just scary because it just throws you off and you can't set up, you can't prepare as much. And Thailand did that stuff with Parifan and Genji. That shit was like wicked scary to play against. I think we ended up beating them. But those are just teams you don't want to go up against. And so you got to put a lot of respect for those guys to be able to pull off performances like that.
He's got a very interesting hero pool. I mean, even looking at his Wikipedia, Tracer would have fired Doomfist Genji. I mean, what a wild hero pool. I don't even know players with that kind of hero pool. Generally, when you play mostly flex, you don't have a Widowmaker, and it's crazy that he does. So there it is. That's so Paddy could be, and we always talk about Paddy's potential, and I think everyone, even the fans, they all agree that Paddy's potential is really high. It's just the question mark of like, how does he come back in? It's that kind of Leave story where Leave took a break to play PUBG and comes back a bit shaky. But then the next year he's a god. Whereas Paddy comes back from Valorant, maybe a bit shaky. Maybe in 2023 Paddy's a god. Who knows?
Yeah. He's got some good infrastructure around him though. So like you said, Face is there, Smash is there, great team around
Hunter's
him.
there.
Yeah, Hunter as well. Coaching staff in general, like among the top of, well respected. Like that's not a team that you want to sleep on in terms of leadership. So if that's a good, if you're hoping that Paddy succeeds, that's a good, incubator to be stuck in. Isn't
that like the best non-disciple of Krusty coaching line? Because generally people think like the good coaching lines are all disciples of Krusty, right? This is probably the best non-Krusty disciple coaching line, I'd say.
I would say so.
There's that. D pays disciples. There it is. the D&D alliteration. Yeah, I mean, beyond that,
And it's kind of
maybe
a reach.
we'll see what happens in London. Maybe Admiral provide pop off and I get clowned on, but it's not that I think they're not good. I just don't know them. Is the
For
thing.
sure,
That's what I come back to at the end of the day.
I think
And-
Admiral is going to be very important for that London team. Based on like what the research that I've made, I think that it's going to be a team that like lives and dies by their DPS duo a lot of the time, whether that's like Sparker and Shax, and then we'll see how Poco Hardy kind of figured itself out. I think Admiral, if he's able to bring like some stability and leadership and shot calling to that team, I think that's going to make a world of difference in the back line and in the tank line. And if you get those departments sorted, I think the DPS line will like pull their own. They'll pull their weight because Sparker and Shax are that good. So yeah, I hope Admiral does well for them because I think he could really bring something that's missing for them.
I think
sure.
I think people probably shit on Becky a little too hard. I think people just like memeing
I
on
just
this
never
kid for
saw.
some
I
reason.
just didn't find the highlights. I really didn't, Admiral. I'm sorry. I didn't
just
find the
think
Becky highlights.
When Jisoo Busan did well, Guri and Becky were kind of at the forefront for me in terms of trying to pull their team across. Because I didn't rate their tank line at all. Regardless of whether their team was trying to put resource into the tank line or not, I don't think their tank line was just uninspiring the whole time. And the only time they were looking good is if Becky and Gurio can really step it up. Becky's probably an underrated player. I'm not going to go ahead and put him in a skewed candidacy. He's not there for me. But I don't think he's like trash down. I mean, there are people out there talking about him like, oh, Becky shouldn't even be in the league. I'm like, what? I mean, I don't know if I agree with that. But
It's just hard, right? Because what is Becky's strongest hero? It's probably the Echo, right? Like he has some, he had some good moments on Echo. I saw him get like 3Ks, 4Ks on Echo, duel some of these guys. But then you have to go up against the likes of, Cest on Philadelphia Fusion, Prophet and Stalker on Soul Dynasty. Like it's sorry,
definitely worse than Zess. Yeah.
Yeah, and even Guangzhou Charge. Like you have to go. I mean, maybe, but like, yeah, Choice One. I cannot rate Choice One.
When you put him against his competition, yeah, he doesn't look as good. I'll give you that for sure. That could be an issue.
It's just a stacked region, man. It's tough.
Well,
I could have seen Becky on an NA team, maybe.
It's bad when like we're doing the Philadelphia preview and Josh is like, so what do you rate this DPS line? We're like, oh fuck. It's Zest MN3, you're still putting them like fourth. It's like, oh, that doesn't feel great. But I mean, outside of that, who knows? Maybe Fix will surprise because he had people think Fix is bad, but he actually had a pretty reasonable season on Uprising Academy, right? And Uprising Academy did pretty good. So a bunch of those Uprising Academy guys came through. Victoria Finale, Fixer, all on teams. Who knows?
All right.
Cool. Any final thoughts on these? On the draft, on the teams, on the players?
The voting thing.
Yeah.
For the fans.
Yeah. So the final thing for the fans' call to action is that you guys can let us know who you think had the best rosters in a couple of different ways. There will be kind of like a survey thing where you can drop. Eric, remind me, is it top 3 or top 5? Like you pick X amount of players per role that you rank out of all the rookies, and then points are basically top 5. So you pick 5 rookies yourself, and then based on what everyone picks in their top 5, those points, they're given points based on the ranking, and those are collated across and then applied towards our roster to see what, for example, how many points does Speedly have, and how much does that contribute to Johnny's team in terms of points, and we add those up. In other ways, I mean, just go ahead and say in the YouTube comments, on Reddit, wherever, tweet at us, in the Yiska if you're in there, who you think had the best team. Who do you think had the best team? What did you think of the drafting? Tell us about how we're all stupid for not picking Merit or somebody.
A lot of people are gonna vote Kilo as like their 4th, 5th best prospect.
Yeah.
Tell us how you think we've all overlooked Psycho and how he's really insane, and these people don't watch EU. He's not.
Psycho's Doom, man. Psycho's Doomfist. Ciao.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Tell us about how we're underrating. Tell us about how you're the biggest Venom fan. You think that Venom's Tracer is going to carry Atlanta to global success, let us know. Let us know.
I think you mentioned all rookies besides opener this episode. There you go. There's
True.
opener.
There, yep.
That's
most of them. Backbone, maybe.
We didn't talk about
Backbone.
Unique. We didn't talk about Backbone. We didn't talk about. We brought up Itzel's name once.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Finale.
Unique is a funny one because I brought up Finale a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Unique is an interesting one because he was on that Element Mystic 2019 core, but then he just kind of like fell off the radar a bit. I don't know. He kind of got overlooked by Rush, and when you get overlooked by Rush, everyone just follows Rush into the distance, and Unique is left behind. With poor Takoyaki, who's still in the ether somewhere.
Yeah, what's that guy up to?
I don't know, man. Maybe he's doing
The greatest main tank prospect of 2021.
He's collecting crypto with Libero. Hopefully, that's his best shot. He's waiting. He's waiting for 2023, guys. Who knows? Spark have moved on. Spark have too many tanks as it is. They don't need another one.
Yeah.
They've had their time in the sun with
Jesus.
Spark with tanks.
They have fucking
That's
Burn R
episode-
on their roster. That's
Mhm.
They do. They need to trade some people because Chengdu's out there like, hey, give us one. Give us a tank. Why are you hogging 3? So, episode 222, rookie draft, done and dusted. Johnny, thank you for being on the show.
So
A
much fun.
pleasure. And I'm sure it won't be the last. I'm sure we'll do another crossover.
Mhm.
And it'll be lots of fun. We're looking forward to the start of the season. We're like less than a month out now. We're pretty much just about a month out. Crazy. About 30 odd days out. It's going to get wild this season. Let's see how it pans out. We'll see you next week for the continuation of our team previews. We've still got second half of NA plus APAC. We still got to do power rankings, and we still got to do previews of the matches, etc. So a lot to come up through for TCP. Stay tuned. Follow the socials. 223 coming up. We'll see you next time.